Austin was left paralyzed. Tunnel to Towers built Austin a specially adapted smart home. Help heroes. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. This hour is presented by Subaru of Gwinnett. You'll love the difference. The Morning Extra, only on Extra 106.3.
Morning, y'all. Tug and Los on a Thursday. God, who doesn't love Thursday? It's the new Friday out here. Glad that you're here. 404-741-1230.
That's how I treat it.
106.3 across the social media platforms, as you should.
That's how I act.
Exactly.
No one questions you when you want to have a little bit of fun on a Thursday evening.
Exactly right.
Thursday afternoon. It's Thursday. You're good.
Got a little bourbon on the rocks this evening, maybe, to wind down.
Nobody questions you at the water cooler on a Friday. Boy, is that generic, the water cooler. Like everyone just gets around the water cooler. But if you're hurting a little bit on a Friday,
yeah,
nobody's going to blame you.
You probably need to get near the water cooler to rehydrate a little bit.
Listen, if you're hurting on a Monday or a Friday, nobody questions you.
Tuesday, Wednesday.
It's a little bit of like, uh-oh.
Dude.
What were you doing?
Yeah, all right. Midweek, you could actually get away with it on Wednesday.
Well, you need an event.
Yeah, you need something like that.
You need a concert. Like, I went to a concert on Monday night, so that's why I'm hurting on Tuesday. If you just said, okay, league night, bowling. Hey, if you're hurting on Wednesday morning and league night's on Tuesday, everybody understands.
Cornhole.
You don't have
league
anything going on, and you're hurting on a Wednesday.
Yeah,
people are going to talk about you. But that's what the Morning Extra here is for. We're here to help you out.
That's right. We're here to put you in the massage chair.
That's right.
If you drop by, we'll get you situated. We'll get you one of these free bird waters.
Get you hydrated.
Get your shoulders rubbed, and set you on your way.
There you go.
That's what we do. You're talking about concerts, man. I just read this morning that Beyonce made $400 million. Here's the kicker. There's the Cowboy Carter tour. They called it the biggest selling country tour of all time.
They did call it that, huh? Well, all I know is she has the Grammy to go along with it.
Yeah, she does. Look, the officials have said that that's what it is. Then I guess that's what it is.
You don't have to take offense to she decided, I'm going to buy this award. I mean, that's how the industry works.
It totally is. It 100% is.
For anybody who doesn't know, all of these award shows are all bought and paid for by the music industry in order to help sell or promote their own artists.
Yes, absolutely. And if there is a voting aspect to it, the record labels
control the votes.
But they also get all their people, because all their people are members. Get all their people. Whoever's got the biggest staff wins.
Yes.
You know. So, yeah. But it was just funny to read it this morning. I got a chuckle and rolled my eyes and kept scrolling, you know.
You're going to be fine.
Yeah, well, it's just dumb. It's just so dumb.
I understand that for somebody who decided to delve into country music for a record that's not exactly a country record, but I mean, there's aspects of it.
Yeah, sure. No, it's country inspired. You go
country inspired sounds good. Country flavored,
all that. But I mean, let's not pretend she went to Nashville and did a record.
No,
you know? Come on.
She's Queen Bee, though, man. She can do what she feels like.
Absolutely.
Wait, you make $400 million.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't argue with that.
Do what you want.
You cannot argue with that. But she had 4 nights at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
But is it only because? When you start kind of looking at other artists who move in and out of the country genre, is it just because they've either started or that they consistently do it is the reason why it's fine?
No, Post Malone went to Nashville. He was like, I want to create a country record. I don't want to have a hip-hop record. I don't want a hip-hop producer. I want to sit down and write with guys that write on 16th Avenue, Music Row in Nashville. I want a Nashville producer. I want to make a country record.
So you got enough of the authenticity where you said, okay, I will take this.
Because he genuinely wanted to submerge himself and create what Nashville creates.
Well, Beyonce made $400 million, so she can do whatever she wants.
Absolutely. You can't argue with that part.
You want her to jump through all these country hoops, and I'm just going to tell you, she's looking at it and going, I made $400 million.
Some friends of ours went to see Beyonce on the Cowboy Carter tour down at Mercedes-Benz Stadium one of the 4 nights. You know how many of them listen to country music?
None. Because she's that big of a star. She's that big of a star.
But that's a country tour, I hear.
Doesn't matter.
You mean country fans don't show up at country tours?
Dude, you had an entire political party in this country that was putting their hopes on she's going to show up and she's going to speak in Houston and everyone's going to be so excited they'll then vote for our candidate. Like, that's the kind of clout she has.
Absolutely correct.
Like, if she wants to do a straight hip-hop record next, I'll be like, fine. If she told me I want to reinvent a gospel album, I'd be like, okay, fine. If she wanted to cover anything, you would just go, okay, you got it, Beyonce.
She the one song I thought that actually was interesting from her record was her cover of Dolly Parton's Jolene. I thought it was interesting. It was just her interpretation. I liked that. It's because it was her interpretation. I'm down with that.
There's only one person that I can accept who's done that. Miley Cyrus's is really good.
Miley's is good
because she just got that voice, man.
Yeah, Miley's
hers is really good.
That
smoky kind of gravelly, bluesy sound to her. Hers is really good.
Yeah, if you were to ask me, my wife asked me over the weekend. No, it was while we were up at the lake for our friend's 50th birthday party. I can't remember. I was talking about not liking Pink. I think that's what it was. And they're like, "Well, do you like any, pop princess kind of?" And I was like, "I don't know if she's a pop princess, but Miley's incredible." I think Miley Cyrus is one of the most talented female artists there is. Doesn't matter the format. And look, I think Taylor Swift's incredibly talented.
Yeah.
I think both of them are amazing. I don't like Pink and Beyonce's fine. I don't even dislike Beyonce. I just love the sheen.
I did enjoy, and this is now 7 or 8 years ago, when you had Ryan Adams who took all of Taylor Swift's album and rearranged all of it, and then made his own album off of it.
He reinterpreted it.
It was sounded, and as he pointed out, the reason why he wanted to do it, he's like, these songs are actually really good.
They are, and people need to realize that they're not just overproduced pop.
But when you put them to overproduced pop, you tend to go, oh, okay.
It's easy to dismiss it.
Right, whereas you hear him sing it and kind of break it down a different way, you go, oh, like that's actually kind of a really good song.
That acoustic Americana sound that Ryan Adams is famous for. You talked about the political end where they brought
Beyonce into Houston. And then Kamala got booed because she didn't perform.
Because she did it about face and got off stage.
What a win.
Did you see yesterday that Kamala said, I'm not running for governor?
All right, this is part of my overall theme of what I want to get into today. Do you realize how much we're winning right now? Those GDP numbers from yesterday was like the start of that.
Huge.
3% growth. You then have Chuck Schumer on the floor of the Senate complaining about it's all a mirage.
It's a mirage.
There's so many aspects where things are going well, to the point where Kamala Harris, who we all kind of thought it was the fait accompli, she's going to run for governor. She's going to win the governorship in California. But there were cracks in the armor. You kept hearing that she's looking to fundraise. She's looking to get people behind her. And even in her home state of California, Democrats don't want to vote for her. Like, how unpopular of a character. There were people on our side that saw her do the, well, I'm not gonna run for governor, and like, oh, she's gonna be the candidate in 2028. No. They didn't want to vote for her in California.
Yeah, there's no way. I mean,
what a gift we were given in 2024.
Dude, I think
Thank you, Joe Biden.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Joe Biden. She's going to throw her hat in the ring for president. She's not going to make it. She's not going to get through she's not going to get through the primary. She'll get her 1% or less than 1%, just like she did last time. Her political career is over. But dude, you got, on top of all the wins, don't forget about the redistricting that Texas is looking at, that Florida's looking at.
The next big war that's coming.
Dude, that's the one in the next, 5 days, you're really going to hear this story start ramping up, because Democrats are in meltdown mode. They could lose 5 seats in Texas, probably 2 or 3 in Florida if the redistricting happens. And then, just to throw another piece of wood on it, Donald Trump's looking at doing a census next year.
Every single time we get frustrated with these people, typically it's a Republican establishment, we go, why don't you all fight the way the other side fights? Now they are.
Yeah.
And it's all led by this administration. These are all good things. Something else I was really pondering about, too. You notice how the deep state is starting to lawyer up.
Oh, yeah.
They know stuff is coming down.
And then the op-ed in the New York Times yesterday, I don't know if you saw that with Clapper and Brennan talking about, let's set the truth straight about 2016.
Oh, you're having to respond back, huh?
Yeah. Why, if there's nothing to respond to, if it's all BS, why would you feel the need to write an op-ed?
You have this multi-pronged assault. Like, if I was to liken it to World War II, we're not at Normandy. No. We got a foothold on the beach. We're driving inland. Like, this is now becoming very problematic for these people, and they don't have any leadership. And so now we're going to have to start focusing on, and this is where I believe part of stuff that was going on yesterday. If we want to secure this when it comes to the midterms and then 2028, as we're ruining the deep state, as hopefully people are being perp walked, handcuffed, I don't care if they're convicted, you got to go ahead and drain this thing out. You got to make sure that that portion of the government that thinks that they're a government on its own is on its way out. If you're doing that, then it becomes about economic security for the rest of the country, especially for young people who went ahead and voted for Donald Trump. This is where, when we saw some of the numbers about the amount of money that's finding its way into the private sector versus the public sector and what it's doing, the reprivatization of America, this is going to be that next pronged attack. And so I'm celebrating the fact that I've even got Grandma Vodka going on CNN and complaining about what they're asking her about because they went on the offensive about insider trading. Even Grandma Vodka, the woman who got Joe Biden thrown out of office, even she's feeling the pressure now of what this Trump administration is doing. These are all really good things.
What's to say? Oh, do we have to talk about that?
Yeah, I came on here to talk about Medicaid.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. And it's not like it's an adversarial person asking her the questions. It's freaking Jake, Democrat Tapper.
I mean, think about it. You have Schumer on the Senate floor complaining about this economy and all the good news coming Trump's way. You have Nancy Pelosi, who's going on CNN and feels sideswiped by a basic question about what she's involved in. Now, I don't care about her insider trading. I care about the fact that she's feeling pressure. You have Barack Obama, who feels the need to have to respond to this stuff through his office. You've got Clapper and Comey and all these people that are writing op-eds like, I didn't do anything, while they lawyer up. This is all good stuff. Now, Jerome Powell, you next.
Yes, that's right.
That's coming.
Absolutely. Because what he did was blatantly political. He even talked about the economy slowing down just a tick. So there's a reason to lower interest rates. And Donald Trump talked about how much money we're losing. We'll get that a little later. We'll play that clip later about how much money we're losing because they decided in a political fashion not to change the interest rate. I mean, I knew they were going to do it. You knew everybody knew what was coming. You thought for a second, maybe they won't play politics with this. They're supposed to be nonpartisan, but they did.
Well, it's a 9-2 vote. And for
Which
those
was a little surprising.
In the background, since the Fed was created in 1993, you've never had two people on the board go against the chair.
Governors, as they're called. I didn't even realize that until I started reading it yesterday.
So that's the deal. You're having now, I would say, a crack in the armor.
Yeah.
Why is that important? Because the Fed has basically been set up as like a fourth branch of government. Like, there's not a whole lot of oversight. Now, Powell is going to be out in 2026 anyway. A lot of this pressure that's been coming down, whether it's, obviously Trump showing up to do what he's going to do, Anna Paulina Luna deciding that she was going to file formal charges because of some of the issues when it came to spending. Where's that money going? They're trying to pressure the dude. I think he's sitting back saying, I'm golden as of now. The only thing he needs to fear is if there's more of those governors that start flipping on this stuff. And they meet every single month.
Yeah.
So it was 29th and 30th was this one. We'll see you next month.
And I don't expect, there to be like, leaks, with the governors talking behind each other's back or anything. I don't expect it to be politics like that, like you would see out of Washington, D.C. But if there are people that feel differently, and clearly two of them went on record saying that they felt differently, you have to know that Jerome Powell feels that something that's never happened before after getting the pressure from Donald Trump when they were over at the building and Trump's breaking out how much the building costs.
I guess it's just part of this is going to come across as ageism, and that's fine. Jerome Powell is from a generation where they have secured their own prosperity. They have made sure that as they enter into retirement, they have plenty of money. And now, these are the same people that when the average age of death of COVID was 78, they were the ones who were in Washington, all 70, 80-year-olds that were, y'all have to do this, y'all have to do this. They're all about themselves. This is where it's different. Again, I want to win 2026. I want to win 2028. Youth vote's big on this. If we do not start changing our economic policy that allows these people to realize a portion of the American dream at these current rates, that's a problem.
It is, and especially for males graduating college, man, that's
huge
the
problem.
Biggest number. Those are the biggest group. Young men graduating college that cannot find a job.
And who are currently backing Donald Trump and this administration and the idea of the conservative movement more so than previous generations?
Males.
We are in a position where if we do not start privatizing this economy and start making it more advantageous for younger people, then you do have issues like we see different places where you go like, well, like we talked about earlier in the week, we were like, why is Mom Donnie doing well in New York? Because there's a lot of young people on the coast that are pissed.
And he's convincing people that his way of doing things would make a difference.
Now, it's not going to work in Iowa.
No.
It's not going to work in certain... It works in Minnesota. But it's not going to work everywhere. But there are going to be these areas where the young people will turn against what's going on faster. In New York, good luck. Okay, we'll see what happens. But that's where I'm telling you, we're winning across the board. We got to start pushing this thing home to make sure that 2026 and 2028, along with the redistricting, you call it gerrymandering, I call it redistricting because it was redistricting in California when you drew those, or Maryland, or whatever,
or made them redo them here in Georgia.
That's right. Hey, those aren't legal. All right, well, we'll go about it again. This is all good news across the board right now.
I think so too. The other thing that makes me nervous a little bit for younger people, younger voters, but younger workers is really what I'm shooting for, is AI taking so many entry-level positions.
Yes.
And those just disappearing.
The one that I was concerned about, and I'm trying to remember who I heard the analyst talking about it, that the lower level work, like for instance, if you happen to want to be a CPA, okay, you went and studied accounting in college. Now, I went and did accounting 1, accounting 2, master's level accounting. Like, I did quite a bit of accounting. That's part of the reason why I feel comfortable doing our taxes. I'm so looking forward to using AI to say, here's my data, do it. Mm-hmm. This is it. Mm-hmm. Here, you know the entire tax code. Give me all the ways that I can save some money. That's what AI is going to do eventually, which that used to be the job of the recent college grad.
That's right, exactly. And that's what I'm saying, with those type jobs disappearing over the next 5 years, maybe even sooner, as AI gets so much better. I mean, we've seen it ourselves. You played a bit with AI that you did for me. You played it off the air.
Like 2 or 3 years ago.
Down the hall at 680 The Fan, and compare it to what you've been able to create with the Kimmer here. And it goes from lifeless, soulless. You can hear that it's not real.
AI's not real. And now,
dude,
it's so much better.
It's so much better.
It is a different level of better now.
So you can only imagine what it's doing in places that it actually matters, like accounting.
I got daughters. There's a part of me that really wants to take all the suggestions out here of, hey, we need 500,000 people that are electrician or electric certified. Like, you know what? We used to hear all those ads all the time on our sister station. It's not so bad of an idea, but that's where I think young men are going to start moving in that direction, because there's a lot of money and AI can't touch it.
Yeah. It is interesting.
Yeah, own a plumbing company, you'll see.
Absolutely. Or an HVAC company like Central Heating and Air, or just any kind of manual labor, blue collar work that the left frowns on, looks down their nose at. That is going to be the places that the most successful people end up. The challenge is it's not just the left. Now, they're really audacious about it. It's also my family, and probably not your family quite a bit. Yeah, most of them are all... Because they've all done that work in Dalton. They've all been blue-collar. But they look at it as hey, I sent you to college. Why would you ever go do that work? Yeah, I know, right? We don't need to. That's the whole point of going to college. Not anymore, man. Things are changing rapidly. When we continue, with all the anti-Trump, anti-ICE media coverage, you'd think the polling would change a little. Next on Extra.
Did you miss Neil Bortz?
I am shocked.
Don't worry. He's live anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
Oh, that radio show.
Did traffic cause you to miss some of the Kimmer Show? Get it on the app.
It's all the kids talk about on Monday at school.
With anytime show replays from the Kimmer, Bortz, the Morning Extra, Clay and Buck, and so much more. Plus local headlines and breaking news. Grab the Extra 106.3 app now and start streaming.
Say it with me, honestcarguy.com. honestcarguy.com. One more time, honestcarguy.com. That's Tom. That's how you get a hold of him. You go to his website or you can give him a call, 844-SHOW-ME-1. That's 844-SHOW-ME-1. Now, some of you all, because Tom's been hearing about it, I've been hearing about it through your emails. Thank you. Some of you have been writing the Google reviews. Y'all have enjoyed this process of working with Tom. How does this process work when you need a vehicle? You just come up with the make and model of what you want. You let Tom know, and as Tom has told me before, if it's from 1960 to 2026, somewhere in this country, he can get a hold of that vehicle for you. And what is it going to mean for you? It's going to mean a ton of savings when you don't go through a traditional dealership because of all the fees that those dealerships tack on to the car purchase. You will be able to see the bill of sale. Here's what this vehicle is going to cost for Tom to be able to get it to you. That's what you're going to pay, plus the Honest Car Guy fee. And as Tom was joking around, I said, Tom, what if I found a car somewhere around the country? Let's say it's way out on the West Coast. It's pristine. It's the mileage I want. It's the features I want. How quickly can you get it to me? He goes, I'll have it in your driveway in 3 days. Okay. Thank you. That's how quickly he can get that vehicle to you if it's that far away anywhere around the country. That is why people have been working with Tom, the Honest Car Guy. Give him a call, 844-SHOW-ME-1. That's 844-SHOW-ME, the number 1.
Good morning, Mike. What you eating?
You gotta try this.
I can hear you crunching from the next cube over.
This is amazing. I just discovered it this weekend at Lidl. It's Greek Goddess Gourmet Granola. They were sampling it, so I tried it. Then I bought 6 bags.
Wow. Is it cereal?
Can be, or an amazing trail mix. It's great for a meal or a snack.
What's in it?
Well, they have 2 flavors, maple oat and harvest nut, which is my favorite. It's made with whole grain oats, almonds, pecans, raisins, coconut, and the sweet taste of pure maple syrup. Maple oat is a simpler take on their delicious granola. It's got wholesome oats, plump raisins, coconut, and maple syrup.
That sounds healthy and delicious.
That's why I can't stop crunching, Susan.
Greek Goddess Gourmet Granola. It's a breakfast or on-the-go snack you can feel good about. It's dairy-free and gluten-free, and with only 2 grams of added sugar per serving, even your belly will love it. Pick some up at Lidl, Amazon, GreekGoddessGourmet.com, or at specialty stores near you.
There's a new vibe in Tucker, and it's teeing off at Heritage Golf Links. After a multi-million-dollar renovation, the course has never looked better. From pristine new greens and bunkers to the stunning 11,000 square foot putting green, Heritage Golf Links is ready to impress, challenge, and deliver an unforgettable round you'll come back for again and again. And when the sun goes down, the game keeps going. Our one-of-a-kind night range is lit up and open Friday and Saturday nights until 10 p.m. so your swing can shine under the lights. So, whether you're practicing, playing, or just enjoying the full-service bar and grill, Heritage Golf Links is the perfect place for golfers who want more than just a round. Heritage is a destination and a better golf experience. Reserve your tee time at heritagegolflinks.com. That's heritagegolflinks.com.
Located just minutes from downtown Atlanta, Heritage Golf Links is easily accessible from I-285 and I-85.
It's July 31st, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is National Avocado Day. This superfood is not simply the main ingredient to your favorite guacamole recipe. Avocados are rich in healthy fats, which make them the perfect addition to any meal or as an alternative to spreads on toast or sandwiches. The ancient Aztecs would beautify their skin using avocado masks, a practice which made its way into the modern cosmetic industry in the early 20th century. Also on this date, in 1994, longtime New York Yankee shortstop and broadcaster Phil Rizzuto was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
The only reason that I'm here today, believe it or not, is because of you fans, my family, my relatives, and all my friends.
Scooter was joined by Philadelphia Phillies pitcher Steve Carlton. If it's your birthday today, you share it with actor Dean Cain, born in 1966. I'm Tushar Saxena, and that's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
I'm Chad Pergram with the Speaker's Lobby. Republicans recently approved a bill to slash $9 billion in foreign aid. It's likely the first of several bills where Republicans try to claw back money which Congress already appropriated. GOP Maine Senator Susan Collins chairs the Senate Appropriations Committee. In a statement, Collins blasted the Trump administration for a lack of specificity about the precision of the request to rescind money. Collins also criticized the administration a few months ago for a paucity of detail in the president's budget. Quote, "The rescissions package has a big problem. Nobody really knows what program reductions are in it," said Collins. That isn't because we haven't had time to review the bill. Collins wasn't the only Republican senator who worried about how the administration presented the spending cut package to Congress. Senate Armed Services Committee Chairman Roger Wicker of Mississippi fretted about Congress ceding the power of the purse to the administration. But unlike Collins, Wicker supported the bill. Quote, "If we do this again, please give us specific information about where the cuts will come. Let's not make a habit of this," said Wicker. With the Speaker's Lobby, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your Georgia headlines for Thursday, July 31st. As Marietta City School students head back to class tomorrow, there will be some new changes upon entry. Weapons detectors will be placed at entrances to the school. All students and visitors will be required to go through the detectors. The new systems were put into place after the Marietta City School Board approved the $500,000 purchase in May. A Marietta man could face life in prison after being convicted of fraud in a multi-million-dollar scheme involving COVID relief funds. Authorities say he obtained a $9.6 million loan and a $3 million tax return by claiming he had a gold mine in Africa that employed hundreds of Americans. He used the money to buy $1 million home and luxury vehicles. The maximum penalty is 170 years. He's due to be sentenced in November. And no surprise here, Atlanta is ranked among the worst cities in America for traffic, with congestion lasting 5 hours a day. That's 35 minutes longer than last year. The Consumer Affairs study found the average commute time for Atlanta drivers is 31 minutes. Today's weather, mostly cloudy with temperatures in the upper 80s. We'll have isolated showers around the metro area throughout the day. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne for Extra 106.3.
You'd think that there would be some kind of shift. You'd think there'd be some kind of movement in the polling after you hear the story of the Maryland dad.
He's just a dad. He got pulled over in the state of Tennessee. He's just minding his own business.
They sent him down there to El Salvador. Chris Van Hollen go down there to check on him.
They were doing horrible things to him.
Terrible. Dalton girl. What about Dalton girl?
It's in the country. She was brought here.
What about this sweet abuela?
Oh, the sweet abuela she was abducted in California.
That's right.
She was just trying to go to her job.
Awful. Just awful. These heart-wrenching stories that the left can't wait to serve up to you. Because most people react to it. They respond to it. I think most people genuinely care about other people. Are they perfect? No, of course not. But when you see a story that pulls at your heartstrings, you can't help but go, man, that's tough. That's really bad. Until you learn they're not real. Then that does take a little bit of the varnish off.
So Maryland man, that didn't work out well. Now, Dalton girl, that was a legitimate story. But this is what the law is. It's what it is.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but it's the law.
Yeah, that's right.
And sweet abuela, well, she acted like she was abducted. She took pictures of herself.
Completely lying.
And you had ICE who actually had to look into it to then go find her, and they found her in a mall in California, in Los Angeles, where she was just walking around doing her thing. She invented the whole thing, had her family have a press conference and have a GoFundMe, and it was all fake.
Every bit of it. And you would think after all of this, even maybe before, especially with the way liberals think, you would think that the nonstop negative media coverage from the Democrat, leftist, socialist, communist community banging the anti-ICE drum, they better not cover up their face. They're sweeping in like a terrorist, just grabbing people, disappearing them. You would think because of all of the heart-wrenching stories, all of the fabricated stories, all of the lies that you've heard, that the polling would move, that the polling would be affected, the American people, that they would react to it. But they've not. Interesting. This is a Fox News poll. Back in January of 2025, right when Donald Trump was taking office, the preferred U.S. policy on illegal immigration immigrants being deported if they're charged with crimes, 59%. Now, fast forward, all of the stories that we just went through.
About 7 or 8 months.
You know what that number is? 59%. It has not budged at all because people want a safe America. They want to see kids being able to play in the streets and not have to worry about it. They want to be able to go to malls. Malls, bad example. They don't really exist anymore. Outdoor malls. They want to go to Avalon or whatever.
They want to go to Blockbuster Music.
That's right. But they do want to go to downtown Woodstock and not feel like that they got to look over their shoulder when they're out to eat. That's why the polling has not moved. Not 1 point.
This is not because of you or me. It's not because of the media. This is because what happened when Donald Trump came down the escalator and told you these were the primary issues. It took America the better part of a decade to go, man, not only is he right, he's super right given what the Biden administration did.
Yeah.
There's a reason why you have 76% of Americans when they talked about and this was the previous polling, 76 saying, hey, if they're here illegally and they've committed a crime, they're gone. All right, it's been hovering in that majority range. As you said, 59% has not changed.
Not budged, not once since January.
And the numbers have also held consistent of, even if you didn't commit a crime, you got to go because you committed a crime coming here. That was a belief that Donald Trump had from 2017 to 2021, and he was called racist for it. Remember, the wall was racist.
Yep.
This whole policy is racist. You making Mexico pay for that? That's racist. It was all racist. Now it's just all real. And they can't say anything about it. None of it's racist at all. Not one bit.
Like you said, it took better part of a decade for people to come around. It took that long for people to be comfortable saying what they really felt.
And that has been an interesting issue for me. Now, granted, I'm in a new neighborhood. People don't just like spill their guts to you.
Yeah, it takes a day or two, warm up.
But when we have the pool conversations and a couple of drinks in you, the amount of people that are saying, listen, I'm just concerned about what's going on in our schools, what's going on in our hospitals, what this is costing our society. Obviously, the Lake and Riley story hit people a lot deeper than the news media ever imagined. Like that is a common thought that goes on in people's homes when they have daughters.
Dude, when you have kids?
Yes.
You're telling me that this girl was going to the University of Georgia or was on a campus near Georgia and was jogging on the campus of the University of Georgia.
Supposed to be part of the safest part of your life.
It's exactly right, dude. And the best part of your life. I mean, this is when you learn the most. This is when you're learning to be a young woman, learning to be a young man. And this woman had a goal of helping society by being a nurse. And she went out for a jog and was brutally murdered. It doesn't matter what you think of immigration. When something like that happens, it is going to affect you and affect the way you think. And if you remember those, 5-6 years ago, there were a lot of people that felt the way that polling reflects, but they weren't comfortable saying it. And once in a while, somebody would be like, hey, what do you think about? And you would have to have the corner conversation, right?
Yeah.
Those don't exist. The corner conversation is over.
Those don't exist anymore. In fact, I'll give you a story. This is well off the radar. But so I take you to Minnesota, and there is a headline that you'll find in their newspaper, the Star Tribune, from 2 days ago.
Dude.
Wisconsin driver charged with being drunk, causing crash that killed 2 Minnesota teens. There's a headline, right? One of the first responses, F you and your paper. This woman drove drunk without a license, a disabled interlock, here illegally, had a previous DUI, killed 2 innocent teenagers with their lives ahead of them. They were at a concert driving home, and this is what you write? Do you have kids? Deport her ass. We are devastated in this community. Say their names, you heartless piece of newspaper. That's the real mentality that's going on. So as much as you have the Star Tribune going like a Minnesota driver, no, an illegal alien here that wasn't supposed to be here, had already had a DWI, was turned loose before, then got drunk again and killed 2 teenagers. This is much more indicative and hits much more than you can tell me about Abuela who was abducted on her way to her job, which never happened. Tell me all about Dalton teenager, and yeah, sucks. This is what is why the polling hasn't changed. This is why it doesn't matter what the media has done, none of it's altering. And for every person that tells me about, look at the streets of L.A. There's nobody out here shopping. What a problem. I say, what a solution.
Yeah, right. Seems like things are going a little better than they were.
What did Charlie Murphy says? He needs some help. We just gave him some help.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
Every city, we just gave you some help, man.
And then, if you recall, they went on to lie to you. Remember Aurora, Colorado, in the apartment complex?
Yeah, they're not taking over apartments. No. Tug, you're silly for saying that. Why all this misinformation, disinformation? Turns out it was malinformation. It was true. They just didn't want it out there.
Tell you that. And now it's out there. It's well understood. Because people are so tired of being fed bull crap. They're sick of being fed that malinformation. They're sick of seeing kids lose their lives. They're sick of seeing just people taken advantage of. And it happens in every state in the country. When you think about how 10 million people on the conservative end.
And by the way, for the longest time, this was to a lesser extent, Florida. This was a California, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas issue. That's the way that illegal immigration went for years. Well, those states will have to deal with it.
It's not our problem.
It was such a problem in Biden's America with the amount of people that flooded in that you have stories as north as Minnesota. Just ponder that. This was traditionally a Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, California issue. And all the rest of the states were more than happy to be like, y'all bear the brunt of it. That's fine.
State. Now every state's a border state.
Minnesota driver. It's illegal who was drunk. Killed 2 kids. In Minnesota.
Also in Athens, Georgia. That changed the dynamic of the conversation.
Via New York.
Right. Via New York.
Wait a minute. How did you get across the border? Well, I know how you got across the border. It was wide ass open.
Yep.
You ended up in New York by request, and then you found your way to Athens, Georgia.
Those two don't go together.
They're not supposed to. Like at some point, we're supposed to go, oh, it turns out you're here illegally and you have to go home.
Yeah.
That's why that polling hasn't changed one bit, Tug. And I don't think there's one thing about this. And again, I grew up with it because this in Texas, it's in your face all the time.
Yeah.
No one dislikes this more than people that are here legally.
And that's why
or people that grew up here. When you'll have like South Texas, predominantly Hispanic, a lot of Spanish speaking. They can't stand illegal immigration. They're some of the most anti-illegal immigration people you'll find. This isn't about, hey, I'm brown, they look brown, I should be on that side.
We're on that team.
That's not how this is working. That's a media fabrication that you're fed. That in California, you get that because you have illegals supporting illegals. There aren't locals supporting illegals.
And the people that have moved here legally, those people suffer the same injustice as we do with driving down wages, driving up rents. They see that.
Yes.
They see it just as clearly as we do. That's why Donald Trump won the way he did with the demographics that he did.
I'd like to think that somewhere in the news media, like there's a part where they just go like, well, I mean, listen, they're Chinese and they're Japanese. They can all go together. Right. Like, do you not know the history there?
Right. Yeah. They don't. Yeah, this is like oil.
Well, look, they're all brown. They'll be fine together.
Right.
No.
Not the way it works.
I'm telling you, I was around it quite a bit.
Not the way it works.
Does not work that way. But why does it happen that way in California? Why are the streets empty? Why is there less traffic? Because the illegals there support the illegals. The theory has been it's 1 in every 10 people in California is illegal. It might be 3 in 10.
Or 5.
It might be 30% of that state is filled with illegals. And even if it was 30%, suddenly you're losing seats. Like you're going to sway. That's going to be a huge battle for 2030. Good Lord, that next census.
That next census.
Man, I'm glad. I hope we're here for it. I hope we're still doing the show and rocking and rolling.
We will be.
Because that's going to be one of those where we're like, remember when we told you about this in 2025? Here, the fight's here now. This is going to be real bad. This is going to be a brawl.
We're getting on the front end of it again.
Yeah, just mark it down in your calendar. 2029, 2030, it going to be a bear.
Yeah. There will be safeguards as the census happens. If things work out the way that we hope they will and J.D. Vance is the heir apparent.
But that's also why you have Chuck Schumer on the steps of Congress complaining about they want Jim Crow. Who's the party of Jim Crow, Chuck?
Your party. Not ours.
Yeah, we want legal voters. Imagine that. And we want people here legally that we then represent with the census. Not everyone, legal residents.
Say that out loud and see who disagrees with you.
Yes.
That's an 80-20 issue.
Come over to my pool. I'm going to give you an invite. Come over to my pool and let's talk about this.
8 out of 10.
You'll go home going, man, those people aren't getting around anymore.
Yeah, dude, they're done with all this. D-O-N-E, done. Or, like my daddy used to say, done. D-U-N, done with it. Done with it. Tug and Los until 10. When we come back, the Democrats have fooled their base. And the 6 o'clock hour is brought to you by Subaru of Gwinnett.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sports headlines for Thursday, July 31st. The Atlanta Braves dropped the rubber match against the Kansas City Royals yesterday afternoon in 10 innings, 1-0. The final, the Braves now move on to Cincinnati to open up a 3-game series with the Reds. First pitch tonight is set for 7:10 as Carlos Carrasco makes his Braves debut on the mound against Andrew Abbott. You can hear that game on our sister station's brand new app, 680 The Fan. But the Major League Baseball trade deadline does come down this evening, a 6 p.m. deadline. The Braves are expected to try and move on from a number of veteran players. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
Command the road this summer in a new 2025 GMC Sierra Crew Cab 4-wheel drive elevation or SLT, powered by the legendary 5.3-liter V8.
Right now at Jim Ellis Buick GMC, save $10,950 off MSRP, plus take an extra $2,500 off with a qualifying trade for an impressive total savings of $13,450. With more than 80 Sierras in stock at Jim Ellis Buick GMC, you can drive yours home today. Visit JimEllisBuickGMC.com to start or complete your entire purchase online.
Or shop in person on Peachtree Boulevard just inside the perimeter or on Highway 20 in Beaufort. Jim Ellis Buick GMC, we are professional grade. Offer applies to 2025 GMC Sierra Crew Cab and 4-wheel drive elevation and SLT models with 5.3 V8. Example stock number GS4511, MSRP $67,574. After $10,950 in Jim Ellis discounts, sale price is $56,624. Excludes TABT and state fees. $2,500 trade-in assistance applies to 2011 or newer trade-ins. Expires 7/31/25.
A golf instructor who knows technique can improve an aspiring pro's swing. But one who really cares can help transform a career.
There he is, your new champion.
When you team up with someone who knows a lot and cares even more, you're unstoppable. At Truist, we believe the same is true for banking. Truist, leaders in banking, unwavering in care. Truist Bank, member FDIC, leading based on top 10 U.S. commercial bank.
The Dean's List with Janice Dean.
A 10-year-old from Saskatchewan, Canada makes the Dean's List, who's been mowing lawns around his community to help rebuild homes. Hunter Larson says he wanted to spend his summer helping his dad rebuild his life after a fire took his house and all of his belongings. Living in a van with their dog Shadow, Hunter knew he had to do something to help his family, so he grabbed a lawnmower and went door by door to help raise money. What began as a $10 a lawn job this summer turned into something bigger than he had ever imagined. Neighbors found out what Hunter was doing and began giving him a little more than just $10. People began contributing even if Hunter didn't cut their grass. And despite the incredibly hot temperatures, Hunter kept going. He says everyone is proud of what he's trying to accomplish, but he won't stop there. Hunter says he's going to keep going until school is back in the fall and everything he can do to help his father rebuild. Hunter, you are a wonderful young man, and you made the Dean's List. Janice Dean, Fox News.
Fox on Tech. Ever get carded by artificial intelligence? Bouncers at bars and nightclubs will want to check your ID, but now YouTube is going to be using AI to determine your age and whether or not you should be allowed to view certain videos. Either its creators or the system itself is flagged as potentially inappropriate. On their blog, YouTube says when teen users are identified by the AI, it will automatically engage its protections like turning off targeted ads and turning on well-being tools, such as time limits and reminders to take breaks from watching endless videos. And if you swear you are old enough, YouTube will allow you to verify that you are indeed not a child. That will include using credit cards or uploading your government-issued ID, no matter what birthday you typed in when creating your YouTube account. The new protocols are being rolled out to U.S.-based users over the coming weeks. With Fox on Tech, I'm Eben Brown, Fox News.
Need a break from all the political talk? Tune into Holy Crap It's Sports with Pete Davis every weekday at 5:20 on The Kimmer Show. It's your daily dose of what's hot in the sports world, from the field to the locker room, with Pete's unfiltered opinion and a side of laughs. It's smart, it's funny, it's sports with edge. Holy Crap It's Sports. Catch it at 5:15 only on The Kimmer Show on Extra 106.3.
Gosh, it's the worst when you feel like you've been fooled. When somebody has told you something completely wrong, or like in the case of my mama, she'll call me and she'll say, I got this text message. It says I was driving in the HOV lane and I've never even driven on the road. And I was like, Mama,
don't do that one.
Don't. It's they're just fooling you.
It's a scam, Mama.
That's it. Don't fall into the trap.
I got a phone call.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody said he was a prince from Nigeria, and I owe him some money to get him here.
Yeah, or vice versa. Sent me an email, said if I send him $10, he'll send me $10 million. It's a great
IRS
trade.
says they need an Apple Pay card.
Yeah, exactly. But then the worst is when you fall for something like that, and you feel completely fooled, and you feel humiliated, and then you get pissed.
It's what tends to happen. And right now, we have a portion of the Democrats, now not all of them, because we talk about the numbers being at 18, 19%. And you wonder, okay, those are the ones that are satisfied with the party. All right. The ones we hear the loudest squawking right now aren't satisfied with the party.
No.
So it kind of makes me wonder, like, what does that 18, 19% do?
Oh.
Like, what are they being spoon-fed? We talk about the hive mindset, and so much of this was going into the end of last week until the brakes were stopped. How much was Aunt Peg and all your friends all about, first off, we went through Russian collusion, and we talked about, even to this day, 60% of Democrats believe that Russian collusion occurred.
60.
To the point where when you wonder why, like, your really liberal aunt or your really liberal sister or cousin, when the war in Ukraine and Russia broke out, you're like, why do they have a Ukrainian flag? Do you realize they were told since 2016 that the only reason why we had Donald Trump as president was because of Russia? That's right. It was an extension of their hatred.
Exactly right, and it lined up perfectly.
So the newest one was Epstein. Now, there's still a few stragglers. There's still a few that don't know because they haven't gotten the word from the Democrats. Stop asking about this. Chuck Schumer trying to play his game of, we want to demand to see these papers. Okay, yeah, good luck with that. This is going to be released in the way that, however, this administration wants to. But you wonder what the next one is. And I believe when you start going through it, the next one probably is going to be strictly about the economy, because they started squawking about that immediately. It turned into, every single time we say how much money is coming in, how many billions are coming in, well, that's just more taxes on us.
That's what they said.
And Scott Jennings last night on CNN, I know I'm just kind of, hopping around a couple of these deals, but even Scott Jennings last night, when he pointed out, when I saw some of the viral clips, he's like, you all keep saying these things, and none of it turns out. Yet how do you manage to have, and he stopped short of, do you know why we don't have any ratings?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But he's thinking it because he knows.
Because you keep saying this stuff and none of it pans out.
You've lied to them for so long. I mean, you could go back and, I'm not even talking about current stuff. You could go back to climate change. I mean, how long have they been lying about climate change? The climate's been changing forever. But they've told you, Barack Obama told you, that, or John Kerry told you that part of the United States or the would be underwater, and then the Arctic would be without ice in 5 years. He said that in like 2009 maybe, but that Democrat base was like, oh God, and then it didn't happen.
But it's nuanced, and it's nuanced in a way that where people will not ask questions, they just go with it. For instance, if I was to make a point about what Tug drives, and I was to say, Tug's got 4 wheels. Well, that's true, but I didn't really give you any real description about it. I just told you this. And so I make it a point to say, nuanced. The Democrats spent a week telling everybody, Donald Trump is listed, using the word listed, in the Epstein files.
Of course.
Well, yeah, he is. But we've known that for years because there were victims who testified that he was never on the island, and he was Donald Trump ever around? No.
And then they tried to pounce on his I wasn't privileged to go, right? They isolated that.
So listed, yes, his name is in those files because the people that were asked said he didn't have anything to do with it.
And he said it.
I mean, it's right here. When did Donald Trump flirt with you? He didn't. That's just inaccurate. Did you ever see Donald Trump at Jeffrey's home? Not that I can remember. So, yeah,
That's
your name's in
testimony.
here. That's from testimony. Your name's in here.
Yeah.
That's listed.
That's right.
So that 19%, this is what they buy into, the nuance factor. I'm only going to tell you a little bit. I'm not going to tell you that what Tug drives. I'm not going to give you any detail. I'm just going to tell you he's got 4 wheels.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to let you fill it with whatever you want to fill it with. And so that's been this game. And yet it's to the detriment of the base. It's to the detriment of the voter. They get angry when stuff that they've been led to doesn't work out.
Isn't it kind of like a conspiracy theory, though, when you get just a little nugget of the information in your mind fills in the rest of the gap? They use that to their benefit.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's just kind of the same setup.
It fires up that group. And then they proceed to, I'm just going to keep jumping on. It's why I tell them whenever, who knows, I haven't even been through I was posting a couple things on X yesterday about private dollars versus public dollars, and I haven't even seen responses to it. I'm not even, it's one of those deals where it's the same crazy people that do the same crazy stuff.
Right.
And so my thinking is, I will know what they've been told by MSNBC and Mother Jones and everything else, but by what my responses are going to be, what I'm going to get.
Because you know where they gather their information. I know where Aunt Peg gathers her information.
And the wild part about all of this is that the things that I have posted about have not changed. Whether it was, under the Biden administration, when they were posting job numbers and they would come down and I would say, well, here's the difference between private sector jobs and public sector jobs. Government jobs. And immediately, well, what do you mean? We shouldn't have employment in the government? I was like, every dollar that goes into the government sector is a dollar out of the private sector. This has been the same. I am not sitting back waiting for what I've been told to say by Fox News or what some random analyst who said, well, this is what this means. Whereas they are constantly jumping from one foot to the next, and they're so easily manipulated by this stuff.
And that's the programming, too, because they're automatically defending government, right?
Yes.
Because they've been taught that government is the savior. So when you say government jobs take away from all they know is government is great, government's there to solve your problems, government's there because the evil corporations or the evil companies will just be so consumed with making so much money off your back, government's the only thing that can save you. So you can bet they're going to come at you about government jobs.
I'm sure.
They've been told they're bathed in that.
The government job is the key job to the country.
God. Because look, it comes with a pension forever. There's just so many things that they tell you about how great it is.
Well, that was the fun part about Doge for that run with Elon. It was the everyday of, do you know what these people are doing? Or do you know how they're not even responding? Or do you know they don't even live anywhere near the office and yet this is what you're paying for?
That's right. And not just paying for one.
Yeah.
You're paying for 3 or 4 of the same people with redundancy.
That's the word, redundancy. Well, we have 2 people that do this job, but we should make it 4 because that way the job numbers look better.
That's right. What? And none of them are actually going to show up.
And who in the private sector can actually work this way? The difference, the fundamental difference is that the private sector, in order to grow, in order to exist, has to create revenue and has to create profit.
Yeah.
It has to. Otherwise, it does not work. This is not the same as I'm just going to have the taxpayers fund this. So, yeah, I do think that you're at this point where we're going to see what the next iteration of the hive mindset is going to be. And I think it's going to be an attack on the economy and how this is starting to really pick up and work for a lot of people.
They'll hate that.
Oh, they want to tell you all about when eggs prices were coming down. Oh,
they'll hate it because anything that takes away detracts from the ability of government to be the savior. They hate. They don't want you to be independent. They don't want you to be able to survive on your own. They want you to need them. It's sort of a God complex or something that government has. When we continue on Extra 106.3, the cost in dollars to us by the political decision from the Fed yesterday. Next on Extra after a Fox News update.
Start your day with Tug and Los on the Morning Extra from 6 to 10. Then it's Glenn Beck, Clay and Buck at noon, and the Kimmer Show on your ride home from 3 to 6. And hang out every night for Jesse Kelly at 6 and Jimmy Fela at 9. And stream it all live in crystal clear HD on the Extra 106.3 app.
The Brett Baer Minute.
President Trump is back at the White House after a successful trip negotiating a trade agreement with the European Union, narrowly avoiding a potential trade war and opening up both the American and European economies to further commerce. Fox News senior White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich.
The automobile factor is very, very big. The energy purchase factor is very big. And then getting the EU to agree to 15%. I did ask the White House, why is the EU getting a 15% rate? They'd been trying to get the 10% that the UK got. And the president also said at the end of his bilateral meeting, one of them that was this week, that the tariff for the world that he might impose on everybody would be in the 15 to 20% range. So why is the EU not getting something better? And they basically said this was about the EU giving to us. They've been, in their words, really sticking it to us for a very long time. And they had to do better, and they did do better, which is why the president was able to squeeze so much out of the deal.
I'm Brett Baer. We'll see you next time.
This is House Call for Health. A paralyzed woman regains the ability to use a computer with a Neuralink brain implant. Kurt the Cyber Guy telling Fox and Friends the story of the first female patient, Audrey Cruz, who's been paralyzed for 20 years.
Neuralink N1 brain chip is what's behind this. It's got 128 threads. It was surgically implanted into her motor cortex. That chip decodes her intentions wirelessly to move a cursor and spell Audrey in purple cursive. Patient, as she's blogged, that I've tried writing my name for the first time in 20 years, LOL. Well, then Elon Musk grabbed that, reshared the post. She is controlling her computer just by thinking, he wrote. It's a major milestone. Yeah. An FDA-approved Neuralink human trials, they started way back in May of 2023. Seems like it was just a few months ago, but they've actually been at this.
For more health news, go to foxnewshealth.com. House Call for Health. I'm Lisa Brady. Fox News.
Donald Trump's America.
Kill the clipboard would store your medical records in touch-of-the-button apps, making it easier for doctors to see your medical history.
We will save time, we'll save money, and most importantly, we'll save lives.
President Trump says the breakthrough was commitments from dozens of healthcare and technology companies without new federal rules.
We take a major step to bring healthcare into the digital age. Something that is absolutely vital. You got to do it.
The initiative is being driven by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, led by Administrator Dr. Mehmet Oz.
We are building a robust and safe, I emphasize that, safe system. It's going to protect the data better than we could have imagined.
The program is entirely opt-in, official stress, and CMS says it will add an app library to Medicare.gov to highlight trusted digital health tools. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
This is WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey Broadcasting Station. Locally owned and heard throughout Georgia on the Extra app.
He was arrested while getting a haircut. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Ending a 5-day manhunt in Arkansas for a suspected killer accused of murdering a couple on a hiking trail.
If you commit a violent, senseless act here in our state, our law enforcement will hunt you down and bring you to justice.
Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. That suspect, James McGann, who's a school teacher, is charged with double murder. And Clinton and Kristen Brink's deaths, they were with their young daughters when they were attacked. The 7 and 9-year-old girls were unharmed physically, but they lost their parents. The day before new tariffs go into effect on imports from around the world, there's a new trade deal with South Korea setting a 15% tariff there.
President Trump posts on Truth Social, South Korea will spend $350 billion on investments owned and controlled by the United States and buy $100 billion worth of liquefied natural gas or other energy products. South Korea also agrees to open up trade to American vehicles and agriculture.
That's Fox's Chris Foster. The president just posted on Truth Social, tariffs are making America great and rich again. And he's also reacted to Canada joining Britain, threatening to recognize a Palestinian state if Israel does not agree to a ceasefire. The president added that will make it very hard for us to make a trade deal, ending the post with, "Oh, Canada." An American negotiator goes to Israel for talks today about the war against Hamas in Gaza.
Reports indicate U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff may visit the Gaza Strip when he comes to the region to see the humanitarian situation firsthand.
Fox's Trey Youngston, Tel Aviv, amid growing concern of starvation.
Aid trucks are now distributing supplies on a daily basis, while Israeli officials have concerns that Hamas or criminal gangs could intercept the supplies.
Palestinian officials say 48 more people were killed in attacks near food distribution sites. Severe turbulence shook up a Delta plane last night flying from Salt Lake City to Amsterdam. 25 people on board were injured, treated when the flight was diverted to Minneapolis. America's listening to Fox News.
An official message from Medicare.
I turned 65 this year. I knew it was time to figure out Medicare, and I had questions, like when to enroll and how to enroll. So I went straight to the official source, Medicare.gov, to get the facts about Medicare. I found answers to all my questions, and I'm ready to get started. And so can you. Just go to Medicare.gov to get the real facts about Medicare.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Heroes like Austin Reese have paid a high price for our freedom. Austin served 3 deployments to Iraq. He spent 13 years with the Navy Explosive Ordnance Disposal Unit and became a military freefall instructor. But in what was thought to be a routine jump, something went terribly wrong. Austin was left paralyzed. Tunnel to Towers built Austin a specially adapted smart home. Help heroes. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Can't afford to fill your grocery bags or gas tank? Fill your day with the best conservative talk for free by downloading the Extra 1063 app wherever you download your apps.
Lord, I love a Thursday better than anything else in the world because you can see the weekend. It is right upon us. Tomorrow's a breeze. Friday's always a breeze.
Can you feel the power that's coming?
I can.
Because we got power coming up this hour.
Yeah, we do. Dr. Rich McCormick represents both of us.
Absolutely.
In the 7th District. A lot to talk to Dr. McCormick about. Looking forward to having him on the show. And
it's just awesome the fact that, again, because of this audience, it's like, I want to get out in front of these people. Like, sure, let us know when you want to, Congressman.
Absolutely right. And he doesn't take advantage of it, but about once a month, I'll get something, and it's just usually, hey, we'd like to come on. And then they're like, hey, well, what are some things you'd like to talk about? And I just send them a list.
And we just run down a list. They're like, okay.
Here's a few things that we'd like to hit. And they give us a thumbs up. Same way.
Yeah, there's never a, well, we can't talk about this.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we want in front of your audience, whatever you want to ask.
Yeah,
like, sweet.
It's been good. It's good. Representative Mike Collins from Georgia's 10th District wants to come on next week and talk to you about his Senate run. Now that he's officially declared for the Senate, he was set to come. He wanted to come on Monday, and that was the day that the announcement was made. You know,
just got a little busy.
Things get jumbled up, and DC's a crazy place, and so he was like, can we move it to next week? So as another person that wants to be in your ear, wants to earn your vote, or at least get the opportunity to earn your vote. So it's good to have those guys on, and we appreciate them and the fact that they covet your ears, they covet your vote, they covet your attention.
I was talking about our audience to a couple of our friends because they were asking, radio industry people. And I was saying, well, it's a 50-50 audience with men and women. And then here's, demographically what it breaks down on. And here's the success level. And it's a lot of business owners. And the more I talked about that audience, the more it completely makes sense why we get so much of this where anyone running for public office wants to get out in front of our audience. And so that's a credit to them that they're spending this time, and it's a credit to the people that are in power that are trying to say, we want to get in front of these people so we can make our case for why we need to stay here or why I need to be elected.
And it's all because of you.
Yep.
Taking the time to listen. Whether you're a 33-minute kind of person,
or if you're a 4-hour club,
or if you're a 4-hour club. At some point, we're going to get fanny packs for all of us that have our time spent listening to the Morning Extra and Extra 1063, and those will be gifts. I don't know how we'll pay for them.
We'll figure it out.
We're going to do something though.
We're going to go to the corner office. We're going to talk to Mr. David Dickey.
Fanny packs.
We're going to say we need you to spend this kind of money on fanny packs that we can give away.
That's all we want.
And if you want to take it out of Tug's paycheck, that's just the way it's going to be.
Easy now. Who
is it you speak of?
Let's talk about this.
Is that a mouse in my pocket speaking for me?
Seriously, I feel like that's a terrible plan, and we should reevaluate. Los, you don't come up with bad plans, but that one's a bad one.
Okay, well, it went south at the very end.
That's right, it did. You were cruising it in, and then you
didn't land that one.
You just didn't stick the landing there, but we'll get it done at some point. Another guy that deserves to be talked to, a guy that needs to be talked to, because he's making decisions for political reasons in a place that they say is nonpartisan, and I don't know that I buy that, because Jerome Powell knows that the economy is ripe. It is in a perfect scenario to lower those interest rates, and Donald Trump came out and talked about it. And I want you to hear what he said, that we're losing, what you're losing as an American taxpayer and as a person that is just working to make a living, how much we're losing because of Jerome Powell and his political decision.
So we have a lot of money coming in, and we have no inflation, and we're very strong, and we should be lowering the rates. You know, each point that this gentleman keeps up costs us $365 billion a year. Think of that. 1 point, $365 billion. If you bring it down a point, we save 365. We should be the lowest interest rate, and we're not. We're 38, number 38, because of the Fed. It's all because of the Fed. He's done a bad job. Now, he's got a meeting today, but I call him too late. You know, he's always too late. Even if he does it today, probably won't. I hear they're going to do it in September, not today. For what reason? Nobody knows. But Europe, as you know, cut their rates 11 times in the last short period of time. But the good news is we're doing better than anybody anywhere in the world. Nobody's doing anything even close to us.
This to me, Los, when I hear Trump saying that and the amount of money, this is the only way they have to limit Trump's success. They are doing it on purpose.
Here's my concern. When all the economic indicators, and by the way, since 1993, the Fed, when it was created, it's about creating economic stability within this country. And one of the things that's always been part of it is inflation 2% or lower. And that if it's below 2%, then the rates tend to come down. Jerome Powell keeps pointing at different aspects as to why he won't move it. And there is always going to be like the concern of, well, hyperinflation out there. The problem is every single time I've been told by any of these people that this is what is coming, it hasn't happened.
I mean, you go back simply to tariffs.
Every time I've been told by these people, here's what's going to happen, it hasn't. And so what's going on, in my opinion, when it comes to Jerome Powell, if you want to call it political, I've said I believe a portion of it's political.
Without a doubt. Jerome Powell hates Donald Trump.
If you want to say that what is Jerome Powell doing, Jerome Powell is protecting the boomers from everyone. Because I started doing this. How old were you when you and your wife bought your first home?
Had to be 23?
Okay.
22, 23, somewhere in there.
I started doing this in my head last night after the interest rate stuff came out and the discussion about young people, when they get to start the American dream.
I'm wrong. 24. Because I got, yes, 24. 24 is when it was.
So here are the ages at which my wife and I have bought houses. 24, 29, 34, 38, 45. The average first-time home buyer right now in this country is getting close to 38, 39.
Good Lord.
So think about
14 years.
Yeah. So think about the difference in now when we were doing stuff in 2004, 2005, and now 20 years later, what that has done to young people who largely put Trump into the office, what it means to them obtaining the American dream. The boomers are protecting the boomers. That's what Jerome Powell is doing, because hyperinflation would be murderous to the boomers where they're at. But it's at the sacrifice of the young people, the younger generation.
But also, Los, who's talking about hyperinflation?
Only he is.
Who else? Even MSNBC's not talking about hyperinflation.
I know. So whether it's political or whether it's I'm going to protect these people, That is what I think is playing out here. But it's to the detriment of young people who want to start life. We had a teacher who helped us out about 4 years ago, where she spent the summer with us watching her kids. Summer job for her. She'd come out 3-4 days a week, help get the kids off to different places. Cool. At the time, I was still working afternoon drive, so it was just my wife needed the help. Yeah. I remember she asked me, and I've brought this up on this radio show before, but I think it's worth reinforcing. 24 years old. I think she's married now at the time. Her and her longtime boyfriend were getting close to engage, and she asked me, "How did you accomplish all this?" Now, keep in mind, it was not an extravagant house. It was just a house. And she's asking me how we did that because of what had gone on with the devaluing of the dollar, the explosion in home prices, and then the interest rates being at where they were. A teacher and somebody else with her boyfriend, soon to be husband, could not fathom owning anything because of where the rates are at.
I need to go home and ask my own son that question. When do you think you'll buy your first house? Yeah. Just to see where his head's at.
Telling you.
As rising junior.
It's revealing to what is going on right now.
Yeah, it's fascinating, man. Because, I mean, maybe there's a little bit of just being naive to the fact of when you can buy or when you should buy.
But there's a danger here. And I think this is what I use New York as the example, but I want to drive this thing home. When you get similar to what happens in communism, the reason why they always call them the useful idiots in communism is because they put the communists into power, and then when they become disillusioned, they're the first ones that get shot. Put them on the wall, they get shot. That's how it works. What happens when our side gets disillusioned by we haven't done enough to make the American dream affordable?
They turn.
I don't know where they turn, but it won't be to just regular establishment politics.
No, it won't. But that's why Mamdani.
That's why you worry about what's going on with some of these things.
And that's why I'm saying turning, because that's a complete 180 against the American dream with price controls, and we're gonna have free childcare, free bus. Everything's free.
And suddenly you go, well, then I can afford things.
Because they're free. Somebody else is going to pay for it. You always, was it Margaret Thatcher? You always run out of somebody else's money with socialism?
Telling you. We still have an intern program going on for about another week or so. What we need to make it a point to do, and you can talk to your son, to bring one of them around here and just sit them down and just say, here's what we're talking about. Because every single time that Jerome Powell doesn't do it, yeah, there's a part of me that goes, man, I'd love that interest rate to come down. I'd refinance, and here's how much money would go into the marketplace, and private companies could then reinvest, and people would be better off on their credit cards, and there's all these factors. But then I also go, you're not changing my vote either way. You will to young people. And that's a concern.
As it should be. And that number is gigantic, dude. Trump said $365 billion for 1 point in interest on the U.S. debt. Those young people, they're going to be footed with that bill. It's going to be them that is responsible for it. All we're doing is saying, no, we're not going to take care of this incredible debt. We're going to hand it off to you.
So, I want to bring Jerry in on this, because Jerry has made this point before, and I think it's definitely worth getting into, because Jerry is not in Gen Z. He is that just a little bit above it. He's not Gen X either, so he falls kind of in that middle point. But, Jerry, what did you use a credit card for to go to?
Coachella, 2007.
Okay.
How much was it again? Do you remember?
Oh, it was probably altogether, probably $700 or $800.
Okay, so that's what he was doing in 2007. The young people now, because even the credit card numbers where they're at, they're finding third-party financiers, or they're finding
buy here, pay here.
Yes,
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they're so.
Which means you're getting a 28% interest.
It's
credit card
even worse.
For DoorDash.
Yeah, it's even worse. It's so much worse. So while you're digging out of student loan debt, and while you're financing Coachella, but not in the way that Jerry did, but you're still, that mentality that Jerry had in 2007 is prevalent in somebody in 2025 who doesn't want to miss out on an event, but they're having to finance all of it.
And the interest rate is double now.
Yes.
From what
it's awful.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's a bad situation. I told y'all, when I think about the prospects for what my son is going to face as far as a job market, we know that young men are running into
unemployment at a significant higher rate.
Real uphill battles.
I think the numbers were, last I saw, when it came to, and this is not across the board, this was young men. This was like the men 18 to like 25 or 27.
That's where he is. That's where Jacob is.
The number was 7% unemployment. Now, nationally, we're at 4% all the way around. Like I said, the number's strong. The problem ends up being it's that women right now, young women, are sitting right at the national average just like anyone else. It's young men that are the ones that are trailing behind as far as being at 7% versus the national average.
Dude, it's
a crazy scenario.
It's worrisome, and this is on Donald Trump's radar. Don't be mistaken. It is on his radar.
Well, and I think that's the important part about when we talk about growing the private sector. And I brought up some of this information. You can follow this EJ Antoni, PhD, at Real EJ Antoni. He had this chart from the Bureau of Economic Analysis. And what he pointed out was real personal consumption expenditures versus real government purchases. All right, so where's the spending going? He wrote this yesterday. While consumer spending accelerated in Q2 versus Q1, government purchases barely grew and, in fact, are now flat on the year. This is the reprivatization that Trump and Bessent have articulated, growing the productive private sector, not the government. If we're going to turn this thing around, it's going to have to start with rebuilding a private sector that's robust.
And you know that just historically. Look at what the Industrial Revolution did. It made regular, everyday working folks middle class.
Middle class.
They were no longer, just basic, barely making it. All of a sudden, it created a middle class.
Yes.
Because the U.S. really didn't have one.
And I know the discussion point has always been about what your grandparents or what your parents could afford. And whether you want to say it's the failing of the U.S. dollar as far as the value of where it's been. Remember, I talked about it's like, it wasn't that your home value went up so high. It's that your value of your dollar started to drop. That's why you're having to spend so much more. Mm-hmm. But if you just look at the real world numbers, like the numbers have always been, whatever your mortgage is, if it is not higher than 30% of what your take-home pay is, you can afford it. Well, the problem is that the average price of a home has now more than doubled versus what your income is. So I can be sitting back and going, well, now I've got to do 60% of my take-home in order to get this place. Well, now that's squeezing a lot of people.
Dude, I don't know that I could do that.
No, it's crazy.
Right now.
And the only reason that my wife and I were able to purchase the next home and then to be able to survive this interest rate was because we had so much equity built up in properties to do it. That's not realistic when you're 22 years old.
That's right. And y'all sold a property.
Yeah.
As part of that, it's just for folks to be able to understand.
Just to make sure that everything was covered in the way that we needed it to be.
And if you're coming out of college,
but that's why they're so frustrated.
If you're coming out of college, dude, you have to be. I say that. Maybe they're not thinking about it as much while they're in college, but if you're graduating, getting ready to graduate, it has to be top of mind. It's probably what you're thinking about daily. What's my job going to be? Is there a job market for me? And then throw in the AI in the mix. Man, it seems like it would be a lonely place.
Gonna learn to be a plumber.
Yeah, that's right. Or an electrician. Or a work construction or whatever. Those jobs that they say Americans won't do. And every time, that's another thing that's been proven wrong over and over and over again. When we come back, U.S. Representative Dr. Rich McCormick joins the show. Talk about redistricting, maybe here in Georgia, House seats that could be gained across the country. And I want to ask him specifically about the quiet process of doing a new U.S. Census next year versus waiting until 2030, which is bubbled up. Talk about all that next on Extra 106.3.
Stream Atlanta's only conservative voice anywhere you go with the Extra 106.3 app. Now equipped with Apple CarPlay. That means you'll always have Extra's crystal clear HD stream right on your dashboard no matter where you are. Download the all-new Extra 106.3 app now and start streaming.
You need a pre-owned car or truck, but you don't need the headache of searching for one. Spending hours calling dealerships, then spending half the day filling out paperwork.
Come on.
You need the Honest Car Guy.
Hey, this is Tom from the Honest Car Guy. We help you buy your next pre-owned car or truck honestly. We guarantee each vehicle we sell will come with a copy of the bill of sale, showing what we paid for it. You pay what we pay, plus an honest fee. Guaranteed.
Get an honest car buy from the Honest Car Guy. Call 844-SHOW-ME-1. That's 844-SHOW-ME-1, or visit honestcarguy.com.
Time now for the Retire Wise Report. James Parker here with financial advisor Sean Maloney, founder and CEO of Retire Wise. So when we go through days or weeks of volatility in the market, Sean, it's hard to know what to do. What can you tell us?
The biggest thing is don't panic or make immediate decisions with your money. Take those emotional concerns out of the middle of it. You know, look, markets cycle regularly. Market corrections and bear markets are a normal part of the cycle. They're just part of the plan that are going to be accounted for. If you feel nervous when you read the headlines about big drops in the market, you might not know enough about how your money is positioned. That's why it's important to get the right guidance on a financial plan for your retirement.
Tell us about the offer you have for our listeners.
All right, so now's the time to start, folks. Looking ahead and identifying if you have too much risk in your portfolio. That's the first thing. We have a helpful little resource for our listeners today. We call it the Retire Happy Framework Toolkit. You can get it today by calling or texting WISE to 770-802-2200. My team helped put together this just for you, and it's a complimentary guide. And the center of this is a copy of my latest book, The Priority of Retirement, plus guides on major topics like investments, Social Security, income planning, taxes, and so forth of the key components of retirement. So if you want to get this information in your hands today, call or text WISE to 770-802-2200. That's 770-802-2200.
Take advantage of this offer and get your Retire Happy Framework today. Just text WISE to 770-802-2200. The team at Retire Wise will get you your Retire Happy Framework to you right away. So just call or text WISE to 770-802-2200. Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Firm does not provide tax services.
Hi, I'm Chris Lalamia, owner of the Trusted Toolbox. Got a to-do list a mile long? No problem. We've got the ultimate solution, our Handyman for a Day program. Here's how it works. You get a skilled handyman dedicated to knocking out your honey-do list. Paint touch-ups, drywall repairs, door adjustments, and much more, all done in one day. Call us now before the rush for your Handyman for a Day, and call us at 770-623-3097 or visit us at thetrustedtoolbox.com. One call, one handyman, one day, the Trusted Toolbox.
Military veterans are eager to transfer their skills and experiences to civilian life, but lack trusted connections to expedite their path to success. That is, until they meet the Warrior Alliance. The Warrior Alliance goes the extra mile to reach veterans in their communities so they do not have to take this journey alone. With over 40 partners across 10 service areas, your donation goes a long way toward achieving maximum impact for a veteran and their family. Go to thewarrioralliance.org to donate today and commit to helping the Warrior Alliance change thousands of lives for the better.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your Georgia headlines for Thursday, July 31st. As Marietta City School students head back to class tomorrow, there will be some new changes upon entry. Weapons detectors will be placed at entrances to the school. All students and visitors will be required to go through the detectors. The new systems were put into place after the Marietta City School Board approved the $500,000 purchase in May. A Marietta man could face life in prison after being convicted of fraud in a multi-million-dollar scheme involving COVID relief funds. Authorities say he obtained a $9.6 million loan and a $3 million tax return by claiming he had a gold mine in Africa that employed hundreds of Americans. He used the money to buy $1 million home and luxury vehicles. The maximum penalty is 170 years. He's due to be sentenced in November. And no surprise here, Atlanta is ranked among the worst cities in America for traffic, with congestion lasting 5 hours a day. That's 35 minutes longer than last year. The Consumer Affairs study found the average commute time for Atlanta drivers is 31 minutes. Today's weather, mostly cloudy with temperatures in the upper 80s. We'll have isolated showers around the metro area throughout the day. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne for Extra 106.3.
7 o'clock hour is brought to you by Van Sant Law Group. If you're in an accident, make the right call. VanSantLaw.com. We welcome Dr. Rich McCormick, representative of Georgia's 7th District.
Our representative, sir.
He is our representative. Exactly right. I didn't want to brag about it because then it sounds like we just got him on because he represents the both of us. And that's not the case. We just love talking to Dr. Rich and know there's so many things that are happening in America right now. But I got to tell you, Dr. McCormick, the thing that stands out to me is how much Donald Trump is winning for America. And obviously, you and the Congress and the Senate, you all have a big part in that. But we are winning at a level that I don't know that I've ever seen. Do you feel that way? Do you see that as the interaction with people? Do they feel that too that you talk to?
I do, and I'm. It's funny because I'm a pessimist by nature. I mean, that way you're never disappointed. But when I look at the things that Donald Trump has done and how he's outside the box, how he's done things that we've been worried about for decades. I remember growing up as a kid and hearing about trade deficits and trying to wrap my arms around that in a simple way. And what he's done individually, I mean, even collectively to countries around the world to bring them to the table and actually give us better. I mean, it's Trump 2.0. I mean, the first presidency went well. This one's just killing it. And what he's going to do to affect the deficit, what he's going to do to affect the economy, what he's going to do to set us up for a lot of success is just tremendous. Although we do have some things that are looming over us that I don't know how we're going to get out of, and that's the debt and deficit, which we can talk about how tariffs are going to affect that and how it's not going to affect it. But overall, I mean, he's getting an A-plus rating from just about everybody, and the Democrats don't even know what to criticize right now. They're just making stuff up.
Congressman Dr. Rich McCormick is our guest on the Morning Extra. Let's go right there, sir, because this tariff policy, when it was coming into effect, and I remember on April 1st, you know, I'm somebody with a couple of business degrees. I said, I'm going to wait and see. Let's see how this plays out. Some of the analysts were talking about this is going to sink the economy, yet we're seeing this record number of revenue that keeps coming in. You know, what is the future of this policy, and how has it affected kind of the outlook of what the Trump plans are when it comes to the economy?
Well, for those people who don't understand how tariffs work, it basically is a tax. It's just a question of who's paying for it. Technically, so far, businesses kind of eaten the inflationary cost. In other words, they're taking it out of their profits, and so we haven't really had to pay for it. Now that may change over time, and it may become inflationary. But so far, all it's done is produce a ton of surplus. They're projecting about $300 billion in extra revenue into our budget, which is something we need because right now we have about a $3 trillion deficit per year, which is horrible. And it's going to go up next year, unfortunately, even with a big, beautiful bill, by about $416 billion more of deficit spending. Now, a lot of part of that is the SALT, which for people who don't know, is basically when you can deduct your state taxes from your federal taxes up to a certain point, and we just increased that up to $40,000. That comes at a hefty price tag of over $300 billion over the next several years. And but it's something we have to look at because that's going to affect us big time down the road. But so far, the tariffs have been nothing but a great benefit to the way we look at our budget.
Dr. Rich McCormick on the Morning Extra, Tug and Los until 10. Dr. McCormick, you talked about the deficit, so let's talk about that because yesterday Jerome Powell did not, and the Fed did not drop the interest rate, and Donald Trump spoke to that specifically, saying $365 billion if they would have just dropped it 1 point over a year. If they were playing, because this feels like very political to me, and I'm no expert on the Fed, I'm no expert on economics, but it feels very political to me. This was the only way that they could limit Donald Trump, only way that they could limit his success. And then it really speaks to what you're talking about, paying off that debt for the United States, but then for people that have credit cards and want to buy houses too.
That's the full effect of deficit and debt. When you talk about the interest payment we're paying, which is over $1 trillion, in just paying debt on that almost $37 trillion of debt that we owe, and the Federal Reserve, for the people who don't understand how that works, is neither federal nor is it reserve, and it's not going to bail us out in the end. We, the States people, are going to bail out the United States. When you drop the interest rate, you pay less interest. It also helps you buy your houses and all those things. the thing that Powell's going to lean on, and I don't think he's going to be around much longer, by the way, but what he's trying to lean on is that he doesn't want to superheat the economy. I mean, we do have a lot of money that's going to be coming back into the United States. President Trump's doing a great job of that, by the way. That's going to produce a ton of jobs. But the other side of that, too, is when you've been downgraded twice in 2 years, which we have been, we've had two agencies that grade each currency, and because we're so far in debt right now, that actually has affected our currency and our ability to borrow from other people. Now, if you drop it too low and people don't get the interest, then they're not going to borrow. They're not going to give us the money. They're not going to lend us the money to borrow, such as Japan. Japan has about $1 trillion they've invested in the United States in treasury bonds, and that kind of buoys up our debt problem. But right now we're kind of upside down where you have higher interest of the short term than the long term, and that can cause some problems too. So it's not as simple as people think. And there are definite advantages to having a lower interest rate, but there are also some things we need to be careful of. So these are 10-pound brain kind of people going at war, and it's going to be. The good news is, like I said, there are hundreds of billions, actually trillions of dollars going to be coming back into the United States economy, invested by other countries that are going to help us grow our economy, grow our jobs, and that's going to help us dig our way out of this deficit spending also.
Congressman Dr. Rich McCormick is our guest on the Morning Extra. Let's talk about your line of work. The BBB gets through, a big victory for Donald Trump. What is next on the horizon for the Republicans in Congress?
Well, I think now that we're done with that, we have a reconciliation package to do. We're going to, at the appropriations bill, we already passed the defense side, which is a huge spending part. It's about 15% of our budget. But we have 12 appropriations bills to pass in order to not do another CR, continuing resolution. If we do a CR, it's essentially the Nancy Pelosi era budget all over again. We haven't done anything substantial to cut that. And so that's the big fear. And mark my words, it's not going to be an easy lift. Even though we have the House, the Senate, and the White House, not passing ACR is actually a really hard thing to do, as it turns out, because the Republicans haven't passed something other than a CR in decades. So to do it the right way is going to be a tough lift, and that's where President Trump is very good at twisting arms, and hopefully we get it done. But one thing we cannot do is default and make sure we don't shut down and freeze out the government, because that could be catastrophic to our economy also.
Dr. Rich McCormick on the Morning Extra, Tug and Los. I want to ask you about something that could really benefit, because you talked about how Donald Trump's having to twist arms and get things done. Redistricting. We see it out in Texas. There could be some redistricting done there. Greg Abbott's talked about it, and the Republicans could gain 5 seats in the House. Boy, that would be beneficial. Down in Florida, same thing. Do you see that as something that we could do in Georgia? Is there something you could do to help push that along? Maybe put Georgia in a better position to have more representation?
So that is a state issue, not a federal issue. We have to be very careful not to cross lines, and I hate to weigh in on this too much. And it's a double-edged sword, by the way. Remember when Newt Gingrich was one of the only Republican congressman in Georgia, they tried to redistrict him out. They ended up with 4 Republicans instead of 1. So we have to be careful we don't get too aggressive, because yes, it may benefit you in the short term, but in the long term, it may lose you a lot of seats too. Texas is probably the easiest place to do, because it's a huge population, the biggest state of population that has a Republican-leaning population. But remember, it wasn't that long ago that Ted Cruz had some issues in that election, and we got to be careful. That's all I'm saying. I have several friends. As a matter of fact, Texans are very close to me. Ronnie Jackson, Beth Hendine, Pat Fallon, some really good friends of mine that are down there. They're not too worried about most districts are going to be fine, but there's a couple of them. By gaining 5 seats, you're going to make them very vulnerable in the near future, and so that's just something that we have to be aware of. In Georgia, we kind of maximize our potential for the future. I think we stabilized it. We can maybe eke out another one, but once again, careful what you wish for, because you get it now, and later on you're going to be paying for that. We've seen that in Georgia, both for and against us in the past. So we just have to be really diligent in letting the states kind of run that. I know President Trump is going to put his thumb on the scales. There are some states like Florida their Republican base has expanded massively by double digits. Texas is not quite as sure-footed as that, but you just have to be picky and choosy which states we do that with. And realize, too, California has some very good laws to balance that out when they reapportion, but they may change those laws in response to what's happening in Texas and Florida and others. So they may gain some Democrat seats there.
New York and California both looking at doing something very similar, and that would benefit Democrats, Los.
Dr. Rich McCormick is our guest right here on the Morning Extra. I want to ask about, we're looking to get, obviously, the expenditures from this government under control and to re-privatize this government where there's more money in there for the private sector. And I continuously hear this from younger people about what this will mean for their future. Being that the young people broke so hard for Donald Trump, young men especially, how much of a focus is there, or is there people in Congress realizing that this economy has to start serving younger people better than it has been?
That's exactly right. And it's funny to watch the Democrats try to find their footing with young people. They're not connecting at all, and they're picking all the wrong fights. I think the American public has kind of woken up to this idea that the economy is the most important thing that has ever driven the American population. When Bill Clinton was running, it was the economy, stupid. And I'll go back all the way to Calvin Coolidge 100 years ago. One of my favorite lines of all presidents is, "The business of America is business." We need to make sure we have cheap, affordable energy. We have lots of jobs that drives the revenue stream that supports everything else and makes everybody happy. It keeps them from doing criminal activity. That's something that we've connected with. Youth want to have, this generation of youth is actually libertarian for the first time in American history. In other words, they don't want you in their business and they don't want you in their personal life. That's the future of politics, and I think we have to play to that. And I think it's actually the way our Constitution was designed anyways.
Dr. Rich McCormick, our guest on Extra 106.3 in the Morning Extra. What about helping those kids coming out of college with jobs? Because that's another issue. Because I have a kid that's a rising junior. You talk about the economic part of it. Not having a job is a real problem, especially with young men right now. We talked about it on the show earlier today, and I even look at it for my own family, for my own son. What is it that you see that we have to do? Because we're battling AI, we have all kinds of real obstacles.
Yeah, the marketplace is changing dramatically,
really quickly.
AI is a concern. It will be more of an enhancement than a replacement, though. I think you're going to see businesses actually become more efficient, more profitable, and create more jobs all simultaneously. It's going to for example, me as a doctor, you're not going to replace me as a doctor, but it's going to make me make a much better note. It's going to help me with treatments. It's going to make me bill more efficiently. Maybe eliminate some billers, some delay in reimbursements from insurance companies. But the companies, the early studies that we've seen so far is companies who lay off people thinking the AI are going to replace them end up hiring back most of those people because it's just not going to replace people. It's going to make you better. It's going to make you more efficient. I think we're going to have to adopt our market. We need to look at our education system all the way around. We still need people. We're going to be plumbers and electricians. You're never going to replace them with AI. By the way, that's a great. If you're listening, guys, out there, and you're looking for the next future, you're going to make as much as a doctor. You're never going to be replaced. There are things out there we need to adapt our education system to. We have an antiquated system where people coming out of college with degrees they'll never use, with tons of debt. That's not a way to look at preparing for a future. If we have the results that we're going to have from Great Britain and Europe and all the other countries investing in the United States, hundreds of billions of dollars, literally trillions of dollars, we should have an economy that's booming. There should be plenty of jobs. And by the way, that forces the minimum wage up without being artificial. And because everybody's going to be competing for employees, not for jobs. And that's going to force the price point for everybody up, and we're going to have a really high living standard still. And I think that's the magic of what Trump's doing right now.
And to reinforce that, as Dr. Rich McCormick is our guest right here on the Morning Extra, when Microsoft says they need 3,000 additional engineers, we have an industry that says we need 500,000 electricians over the next several years. I mean, it's completely different in terms of growth and availability of jobs.
And that's what we're not preparing for. I love technical schools. In fact, I told my middle son the other day, he's going to be doing an apprenticeship for being an electrician. And what's funny is he wasted 4 years of college before he did that. Now he got great grades, fine, but you didn't know what you're going to do with that degree. I told him right off the bat, I'm like, I'm not a prophet, but you can kind of see how the economy is going. You can see where the real money can be made. You get a couple of electricians together, you can have yourself a business, and you can make way more than the average professional, more than a doctor. And I think if you look at preparing the youth for the next generation for what the needs are out there, it's predictable, and that's the nice thing about this. But you're right, Microsoft is still hiring. We got a bunch of people hiring, and by the way, that brings up STEM education. We don't produce enough smart kids here in the United States. Our education system is not built well. We have 1 million kids from overseas, 1 million kids that are taking a substantial part of our college education, and they're not coming here for degrees in history. Nothing wrong with that, but like I said, communications or anything else that's not useful. They're coming over here to actually take our engineering jobs where they're going to have 100% placement. They're the ones that are doing computer programming, AI development, that sort of thing, and then bringing it back to their countries. This is one of the beasts that we have with the Ivy League schools. They're bringing over like a quarter of their students are coming from foreign countries, getting great educations, and then going back there and working against us. That's a problem.
Indeed it is. But I love what you said, predictable, because you can see where the boom towns, the boom markets, the boom job markets will be. Final thought here with Dr. Rich McCormick representing Georgia's 7th district. You decided not to run for Senate. Who do you plan to back? Have you made that decision? What will make you, if you've not made the decision, how will you decide? Where does that go?
You know, it's funny. In politics, friends come and go, but enemies accumulate. I got to be really careful that we don't. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true.
I will say this to you, Dr. Rich. I've said if you have 5 haters, make sure you have 5 more by next week, because that means you're doing well. But it's not always that way in politics.
You know, it's funny. I was a popular guy. You know, everybody likes Marines, everybody likes pilots, everybody likes docs. Until I went into politics, and half America instantly hated me.
Immediately, because of one letter of the alphabet.
Oh my gosh, it's incredible. People who are my friends.
Oh wow!
I mean, I'm talking close friends. People who voted for me at Morehouse, student body president. All of a sudden, like, oh, you're that guy, and it's like, wait a minute, I'm the same guy.
Yeah, right.
And this is where I think it's going to be interesting. There, obviously Kemp is weighing in. The president, I think, will keep his powder dry for a little bit. He's going to want to make sure that we don't have a bloodbath. So maybe he'll weigh in a little bit early, but you got some good candidates out there. I think I'm going to do whatever I can to help whoever comes through the primary win this.
There you go.
Obviously, we did really well in our district. We outperformed everybody, not to brag or anything like that, but we had the highest voter participation easily and the best performance over expectations. And so we have some things to add, but, the main thing is we flip these 2 Senate seats because Georgia should be a red state. We've lost 3 elections now for the Senate, and that can't happen anymore. We got to be careful of our governor's race, too, by the way.
Yeah.
If the Democrats come up with a good candidate and things aren't going perfectly, midterms are a vulnerable time for us, so we just got to be very careful.
Indeed. Dr. Rich McCormick, thank you as always for speaking to the folks in Atlanta and taking the time with us on the Morning Extra. Thank you, sir.
Always a pleasure. Semper Fi, brothers.
There you go.
Thank you.
Good fellow there, Dr. Rich McCormick, here on Extra 106.3. And some of that discussion leads us into the next topic, as a matter of fact, talking about redistricting and how just filthy dirty that fight is.
Tell you now, when I got a chance to talk with Dr. Rich McCormick on election night, that was his message of we need to be aggressively fighting. And so that includes exactly what we're going to be getting into.
Next on Extra 106.3.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sports headlines for Thursday, July 31st. The Atlanta Braves dropped the rubber match against the Kansas City Royals yesterday afternoon in 10 innings, 1-0. The final, the Braves now move on to Cincinnati to open up a 3-game series with the Reds. First pitch tonight is set for 7:10 as Carlos Carrasco makes his Braves debut on the mound against Andrew Abbott. You can hear that game on our sister station's brand new app, 680 The Fan. But the Major League Baseball trade deadline does come down this evening, a 6 p.m. deadline. The Braves are expected to try and move on from a number of veteran players. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
The summer's got you thinking about hitting the road. And with back to school right around the corner, you need a vehicle built for the road and safe enough for the family. And Subaru of Gwinnett has it for you. like the 2025 Subaru Outback, which will take you as far as you want to explore with standard symmetrical all-wheel drive, plus up to 32 miles per gallon. And if you're up for adventure, it'll get you off the beaten path with up to 9.5 inches of ground clearance, more than the Honda CR-V or Toyota RAV4. Or the 2025 Subaru Forester, the SUV for all you love. It's the right-sized SUV for all the adventures ahead, with a spacious and comfortable interior for everyone you want to bring along. And no matter where adventure takes you, it starts on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth with the amazing staff at Subaru of Gwinnett. They'll help you find the Subaru that you'll love and be there every step of the way for everything you need. Start your shopping online at SubaruofGwinnett.com.
In retirement, the right balance of risk and safety isn't just smart, it's essential for lasting peace of mind. Coach Pete's local trusted advisor, Craig Chandler, knows that. With more, here's Coach Pete.
Yeah, I mean, if you can have both, why wouldn't you want to? And if it's just about making sure you fill the right paperwork in and not trapped in something you shouldn't be in or going down the wrong path, if you're dealing with an advisor, folks, who's pushing all risk all the time, ask them if they're licensed in safe alternatives. Point blank ask them and get them to put that in writing. We've seen several folks out there who are slamming the safe world because they're not licensed. All they're doing is pushing all risk all the time. That is not a successful retirement. Well, I'll debate anyone on that in a public setting, if so, because there's no way you can call yourself a fiduciary if you don't have risk and safety available for your clients at all times. If you're reaching into your client's money and taking money out, and that's the only way you make money, the client's the one that suffers.
For a comprehensive and complimentary retirement review, call Craig Chandler, Chandler Wealth Management, 800-419-6164, 800-419-6164.
I'm Gianna Gelosi with your Fox True Crime Minute. The home at the center of a Netflix TikTok cult documentary was raided last week. Federal and local law enforcement served a search warrant for alleged sex trafficking at a home owned by a controversial pastor, Robert Shin, the subject of the Netflix docuseries Dancing for the Devil, the 7M TikTok cult. The warrant was also issued for allegations of tax evasion, mail fraud, money laundering, and COVID-19 pandemic-related accusations. Shin is the pastor of a religious nonprofit he calls the Shekinah Church. He also runs a management company, 7M Films, that recruits young dancers, many of whom accused him in the docuseries of unsolicited sexual advances and manipulation techniques, also claiming Shin was controlling from their dances to their financial decisions, making them turn over a large portion of their money to the church. Shin filed a defamation suit against the former church members who countersued. That case is now set to begin in October. There's more on this story at foxnews.com or subscribe to the Fox True Crime Podcast. I'm Gianna Gelosi with your Fox True Crime Minute.
I'm Chad Pergram with the Speaker's Lobby. Republicans recently approved a bill to slash $9 billion in foreign aid. It's likely the first of several bills where Republicans try to claw back money which Congress already appropriated. GOP Maine Senator Susan Collins chairs the Senate Appropriations Committee. In a statement, Collins blasted the Trump administration for a lack of specificity about the precision of the request to rescind money. Collins also criticized the administration a few months ago for a paucity of detail in the president's budget. Quote, "The rescissions package has a big problem. Nobody really knows what program reductions are in it," said Collins. "That isn't because we haven't had time to review the bill." Collins wasn't the only Republican senator who worried about how the administration presented the spending cut package to Congress. Senate Armed Services Committee Chairman Roger Wicker of Mississippi fretted about Congress ceding the power of the purse to the administration. But unlike Collins, Wicker supported the bill. Quote, "If we do this again, please give us specific information about where the cuts will come. Let's not make a habit of this," said Wicker. With the Speaker's Lobby, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
The Morning Extra on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3 FM.
Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. A conversation we got in with Dr. Rich McCormick was about redistricting. And you see Texas, they're talking about it. They think they can squeeze out 5 more Republican seats. Down in Florida, 2 or 3. Now, alternatively, out in California, they think they can do it as well. New York, too. And they're trying to push the Republicans out. So basically, it would be blue states become bluer, red states become redder. But this is not an easy fight, and it is filthy dirty.
I just question when you have New York and California saying that they're going to respond in kind, because when you look at their districting maps, they're already ridiculous. And remember, you do have courts that are able to review, as we saw here in Georgia.
In Georgia, they had to change them.
They will flat out point out this is not done in the way that is going to be legal, and so you have to redraw this. Considering that California and New York, I think, have already redrawn theirs to the limits of the law, I'm like, good luck.
Yeah.
Texas, that's not the case. Texas is going to get pretty fun with this. But the reason why I bring that up, we need to make sure that we are fighting in the way that they fight us. There are often times, and I've said this for years, and I think, Tug, if there's anything that's changed with you that I've noticed in the nearly 4 years we've been together, your mentality early on was very live and let live, turn the other cheek.
It's just my nature.
And then you saw what happened in the country, and you're like, you're bastardizing my country.
That's right.
Like, you're doing things that I never expected you would do. And it turned into, I have to get more aggressive with this stuff.
You just have to realize, I think at some point you have to realize there are people in your life that don't have your best interest at heart.
They don't share your values or your morals.
And they don't share your values. Absolutely. But I would even say on a personal level, there was a couple things that happened to me personally that I go, oh my God. And it pulled the curtain back. They acted like they had my best interest, but they didn't. Politicians never have your best interest at heart. But, you hope people do the best for the country, not do the best for themselves. And that is never the case. And it took me a little bit to learn that.
I've said this quite a bit. I want more power, not for the sake of power, so that I have more power for you to leave me alone. And I went through this list. I was reading this yesterday. This is from DC Drano. I thought it was a really good rundown of just a reminder, because right now it's the Democrats with their hands on their hips. If you do this in Texas, you're threatening democracy. Actually, they don't say it like that. That's how the Texans version of it is.
Yeah, right.
And I'm saying, good, because here's what you did. The last time that the Dems had this kind of power in the House and what they were able to do, they flooded our country with 10 plus million illegals. They forced vaccines en masse. They shut down businesses and censored speech. They unleashed record inflation and violent crime. And they became full-blown communists.
And we're dealing with that to this day.
And so your threat is, well, what you're going to do is threaten democracy. You already did it. Yeah, you turned this into a banana republic. You were the ones that bastardized this entire thing. The reason why I want to redistrict and the reason why I'm in this fight and the reason why I want more power is that you can never do that again.
Yeah. I want to surround myself with almost a wall.
It's a firewall from your craziness.
And it was funny because remember the cut we played yesterday of Chuck Schumer? He was like, never before in American history have we ever seen someone use the federal government to weaponize.
And he was pointing out, never before have we seen them be able to enrich themselves off the federal government. It's like, are you kidding? Did I not just sit through Hunter Biden? Did we not just pardon the entire Biden family on the way out with an auto pen?
For crimes all the way back to 2014 through today. Who are you talking to?
Who are we pretending to talk to? Like what?
But if
it's
they
just
say
rhetoric at a certain point, right?
Of course, but if they say it enough, somebody will believe it.
I have to believe. I have to believe that Americans have gotten to the point now where it's not everybody, but it's those people that are paying attention. You can bring up something from 20, 30 years ago and remake it according to what you want. You can't do it from a year ago.
Yeah, because it's fresh in your mind, yeah.
It just looks bad. And I think that's part of the legacy that we're going to have with the Biden administration for the next several years. Every time you say, well, Donald Trump's going to do this and that's illegal, or it's like, it was just done.
They already did it.
We just saw it. Are you weaponizing the DOJ? That's what Donald Trump is doing. Hold on a second. I just watched him get 94 different counts on him.
We physically have the paperwork of y'all weaponizing the federal government against Donald Trump. And then going down to state and local levels, weaponizing DAs against Donald Trump and against just everyday Americans when they would bust down their front doors for going to church or praying in front of an abortion clinic.
So we're talking about redistricting. They actually had DC gulags. We are not the same. We are never going to probably be the same ever again. This is how it's going to be.
You can't.
You actually had gulags where people didn't get a chance to even meet with attorneys because you saw them as threats to your power. And you have a problem with me looking to redistrict?
Yes.
Who are you kidding?
But they don't care, dude.
No.
That's almost like the hypocrisy that they live in all the time because they don't have truth on their side. They don't have history on their side. When history looks back at the Biden administration, and now you can even include the Obama administration, now that varnish is gone, you can look at it for what it is. You know better. You know what they've done, and you know what they'll do again. And I think that's the most important part of this conversation. Is
they didn't change.
They didn't, and they're not going to. They are going to do the exact same things to you again as soon as they have the opportunity.
They will look at it if they ever obtain any tiny amount of power. They will look at it as, well, what we did before, they just want it to happen again. They will look at it as like authorization, even though
almost validation.
They lost the popular vote in 7 swing states. If you ever let these people get close to power again until they change, maybe they revert back to something more Clinton-esque. But until they change, you can't let them anywhere near the levers of power.
I don't know that they'll change anytime soon. Maybe 10 years from now.
Gotta
maybe
keep losing.
They have to keep losing, and hopefully they will. They're not, because they're saying right now it's Mamdani, it's AOC, it's Bernie, it's Jasmine Crockett, it's all the loudest, craziest leftists. Morning Extra and Extra 106.3 when we continue. How the mainstream media covered the incredible GDP growth. Next on Extra.
It's time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
I read a newspaper article yesterday that reminded me of one of the turning points in my radio career. No, I wasn't always a great guy. I wasn't always ready to do what management wanted me to do. We're going back to Texas A&M. WTAW. Started out as a rock and roll disc jockey named Randy Neal, then turned to country, and then did something that I thought was funny as all hell, but ended up, well, judge for yourself. The newspaper article was about the great tarantula migration that's taking place in Texas right now. Tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of horny male tarantulas are marching across the landscape looking for females. So being a Texas boy and not afraid of a little tarantula bite, I went out and got a big cardboard box and scooped up maybe 80 or 100 of these tarantulas. I headed over to the radio station. It was shut down at night. We only broadcast during the day. So I emptied all of those tarantulas into a darkened studio, went back to my house trailer. Yep, a house trailer, went to sleep. The next morning, the poor sap who had to sign on the radio station walked into a darkened studio at about 5:30 and sat down in a chair. He had to do that in order to put a foot under the console and turn on all the power. He noticed a crunch. When he turned on the power, the entire studio was covered with tarantulas. They were on the turntables. They were in the tape cart machines. They were everywhere. He ran screaming out of the radio station. They didn't get on the air until mid-morning. And that afternoon, I was fired, deservedly so, for a stupid stunt like that. My next radio job, Ring Radio in Atlanta, when I crassly took advantage of some man's suicide. That's another story. Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
Securing America.
The Department of Homeland Security has launched a new aggressive recruitment program to find candidates to join ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The recruitment efforts promise maximum signing bonuses of $50,000, student loan repayment and forgiveness options, and enhanced retirement benefits, with much of the funding provided by the recently passed Big Beautiful Bill. New recruitment posters feature pictures of President Trump and DHS Secretary Kristi Noem and read, "Defend the Homeland. Join ICE today." Homeland Security has been aggressively recruiting throughout this summer. This is a portion of a video released in June seeking candidates for the Customs and Border Patrol.
We are the front line of whoever is coming in, whatever is coming in.
Border security and removing illegal aliens from the country has been a focal point of the administration since the president took office. Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. The 8 a.m. hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air.
Release the hostages.
I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President Trump just called on Hamas to do that. Posting on Truth Social, it's the fastest way to end the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, where there's growing international concern about starvation. And Palestinian officials say 48 more people were killed in attacks near food distribution sites.
This comes as we're learning the country of Canada plans to recognize the state of Palestine at the UN General Assembly in September, something Israeli officials quickly rejected.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Israel, where U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is going for talks today. Canada joins Britain and France threatening to recognize a Palestinian state, prompting President Trump to write on Truth Social, that'll make it very hard for us to make a trade deal, ending that post with, oh, Canada. Tomorrow, new tariffs go into effect on imports from countries worldwide, and to avoid a 25% charge, South Korea has worked out a deal with the U.S., lowering it to 15%.
The Koreans are going to essentially provide the president and the government, the U.S. government, with the ability to invest $350 billion in important industries.
U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer. Later this morning, a federal appeals court will hold a hearing on a challenge to the Trump authority to impose these tariffs, filed by some import businesses in 12 Democrat-led states. A suspected killer arrested in Arkansas.
Because of their hard work and investigative skill, we were able to take a monster off the streets.
State Police Colonel Mike Hager. The suspect, James McGann, is charged with double murder, accused of killing a married couple while they were hiking in a state park with their daughters Saturday. The 7 and 9-year-old girls were not injured physically. Turbulence rocked a plane last night, injuring 25 people on board a Delta flight from Salt Lake City to Amsterdam.
One passenger on the flight described a sudden drop as flight attendants were in the aisle with those serving carts, saying, quote, every one of them flew and hit the ceiling. The beverage carts also flew into the air.
Fox's Chandler Payne. The injured were treated when the flight was diverted to Minneapolis. America's listening to Fox News.
An official message from Medicare.
I turned 65 this year. I knew it was time to figure out Medicare, and I had questions like when to enroll and how to enroll. So I went straight to the official source, Medicare.gov, to get the facts about Medicare. I found answers to all my questions, and I'm ready to get started. And so can you. Just go to Medicare.gov to get the real facts about Medicare.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Heroes like Austin Reese have paid a high price for our freedom. Austin served 3 deployments to Iraq. He spent 13 years with the Navy Explosive Ordnance Disposal Unit and became a military freefall instructor. But in what was thought to be a routine jump, something went terribly wrong. Austin was left paralyzed. Tunnel to Towers built Austin a specially adapted smart home. Help heroes. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
For hourly Fox News updates and the best in conservative news and talk, keep it on Extra 1063 or download the Extra 1063 app.
It's amazing how quickly this show goes some days. And it's because the discussion is about things that matter, man. You can talk about, I love sports. You can talk about sports. It doesn't change anything. You talk about the politics of the United States of America, and it potentially could change everything. And hopefully you pull that from the discussions that we have. And we appreciate when you interject, when you have points and bring up topics at 404-741-1230. At Extra 1063 across the social media platforms. Best listeners in town for sure, listening longer than anybody else and any other radio station in town. And that's not just a brag. Actually, it is. It's just a brag on you is what it is.
Y'all are awesome.
And we appreciate it. 3% GDP jumps off the page at you, especially when they're expecting like 2.3%. It didn't matter for some people like Chuck Schumer because he's not trying to promote, obviously, anything that is good for America. That dude is literally pulling against you. He's pulling against me and Los and Dre and you and your family, pulling against us every day because he hopes America fails. But why? Why would you ever? I had this discussion with my mama. She can't wrap her head around why people would pull against America. I was like, Mama.
Jerry?
Yeah.
Why is he acting like that?
That's right. Why would anybody pull against their home? I was like, well, Mama, if Trump does well, guess who's never back in power? Guess who never has the ability to dictate what happens to you and make you do things that you don't want to do or pass laws and regulations for things that prevent you from being successful?
One of the big issues that's going on with the Democrat Party right now is the huge distrust and dislike in their leadership. And so Chuck Schumer, He's already seen what has gone on with some of these other leaders. He's going to play the game of, I'm the primary guy trying to fight against Trump. Doesn't matter how well things are going. That's his role, because he knows, he could be primaried right out of that position.
In the Democrat Party, he is an afterthought.
Yes.
Everything about him is an afterthought. No one listens to him. That's why he's out there trying to make noise, trying to get someone's attention. But when it comes to coverage, it's like that in the mainstream media, too. It's no different. Chuck Schumer out there saying that the 3% GDP is a mirage.
I mean, AOC right now, when it comes to primary voting, could primary Chuck Schumer out of that spot. Yeah. And they look at her as like, well, that's because he doesn't fight hard enough. That's what he's doing. That's why when it's 3% growth, and you know what's going to happen when we get to 4%, hopefully next quarter, and maybe 5% after the big, beautiful bill really goes into effect, which would be amazing. Chuck Schumer's still going to be telling you it's a mirage or it's a lie.
Because you've got nothing else.
What else are you going to do?
What else would you say?
What happens when the analysts have it at 2.3%? And we'll see where it comes in. And most of the time, that comes in at like 2.4 or 2.3. When it's 3%, it's, wow, okay, we're missing this.
It jumps off the page.
And so that's what you get. But I want you to listen to this, because this is the game now. Whenever there is good news for this administration, you will have, and I'm not saying that Fox News is, I mean, remember that at one point they told the point that we're not going to be like some Trump Academy. We're not going to be like some place where he's always got a home here. I mean, that was after 2020, 2021. Yet they recognize, all right, get on board with this, because this is where our ratings are going. So when something good happens, they're going to cover it. What you're going to hear is then the next portion of this audio, which is the CNN version. This is still 3% GDP, which is good at any point considering where we were. This is how each one covered it.
GDP, this is the first read of the second quarter, coming in at 3%. That is better than expected.
We have an economy growing at, what do you say, 3%? We have inflation at 2%. That's the best of both worlds.
Yes, it did rebound to an annualized rate of 3% during the second quarter. Even though headline GDP rebound, this economy has actually started to lose some momentum.
So, you can hear it just in the tone of voice.
It's losing momentum, even though it just went above market expectations.
Yeah.
But that's the hope.
Yeah.
They have to. This is what's wild. I don't recall at any point. Like, I remember saying the job numbers were cooked, and it was BS under Joe Biden.
And then after every job announcement, they would go back and revise them down.
But I also never was thinking to myself, hey, why don't we have a recession?
Yeah.
Because even when we did, they wouldn't call it. But I never thought, why don't we get things lower?
I can't wait for things to be really, really bad for me and the rest of the American people, 320 million. But I can't wait till things go horribly for us.
And how they are a party. Because remember, communists are not humanist. It's just about power. They don't care about people. They never have cared about people. That's just the nature and the history of how they react to things. If I was hoping for recession, I'm also hoping for enhanced depression and suicides around the country, because those are linked.
Credit card debt going up.
Yes.
People being defaulted on their homes and their cars and their credit card
This happens. This is what traditionally happens around the country. The fact that they're rooting for economic problems, again, not human.
How many times have I said it?
Just power.
They're rooting against you.
Yes.
It's nothing to do with America, except in the fact that they despise it, because America provides you the ability to depend on yourself and not government. And they hate that, because to them, government's the all-time savior. Everything's better through government. They will tell you. It's not like they hide that fact.
Just, it's the plan to have as many people telling you everything's great when you know it's not.
And then alternatively say, but trust us, we'll make it better. Right.
I know it's great. It's totally great. We're telling you it's great. You need to ask people around. Remember, it's a messaging problem they had.
Mm-hmm. Well, they still say that.
I know. That was their game. We have a messaging problem. Wait a minute. Just as Janet Yellen was telling me very early on, man, we just haven't been able to tell our story the right way. What? Of crazy inflation? Wild amounts of inflation that you refuse to deal with? Well, it's just transitory. It's just here for a little while. I know you're spending a whole lot more on your gas and your groceries, but it's just you. It's only you.
Mark Kelly said it this week, Los.
Yeah.
That it's a messaging problem. Like, no, you don't. Nothing you say makes any sense unless when you peel back the layers and you realize it's about power and it's about money and it's about taking opportunity away from people so they'll depend on you for that. Then maybe Mark Kelly knows as well as you and I know that things are going pretty darn well. And Trump was handed, when he turned this thing over and was inaugurated, he was handed an S sandwich, like from Major League.
S-burger.
That's what it was, yes. Mark Kelly knows that. He knows it as well as you and I know it. Yet he's still out there talking to those Democrat voters that still believe that it's just a messaging problem. It's nothing more that we're not communicating well right now. No, you're communicating just fine. I see through that sheen that you have up.
All I was told, no matter what, as we started to see people around the country, credit card debt was exploding. People were having trouble outside of going paycheck to paycheck. While this was happening for the first 2.5 years of the Biden administration, every time I was told, look at the stock market. Well, look at the stock market. Don't you know what's going on? Look at the stock market.
Look at your 401k.
Look at the stock market. How about the stock market? Sorry, what we've been saying. And even when the stock market is, again, record right now.
Have we talked about record highs of the stock market?
No.
At all?
It's at record highs.
0 times up until today.
No, at no point have we ever been like, have you seen the stock market? It's because the stock market isn't Main Street. If you're fortunate enough to be in the stock market, that's great. Good for you. Awesome. Like, I'm in the stock market. But I'm not sitting back going, hey, have you seen what the stock price is today? You know who does that? My parents. Because of their retirement accounts. Mm-hmm. They look at it every day.
And I know for us, because we're adding to 401ks or IRAs or whatever, that's a long-term play. That's a long-term
Yeah, I'm not
investment.
leaving. I'm not going anywhere on there.
Right. So if the stock market has a bad day, good. We'll buy some more shares at lower cost, and it ends up bolstering our 401k or IRA later.
But that's not an indicator of what the regular Joe or regular Jane is feeling. What is growth. Growth is important. Now, as we've brought up, and we'll bring it up in this hour, we do have a couple of our interns in the building. It's all about if we really want to win long term. You know, Dr. Rich McCormick, who joined us last hour, we'll be able a chance to play that for you again. He talked about how the youth vote is decidedly libertarian.
First time in history.
Young men are moving conservative. When it comes to the youth vote overall, largely they have concerns. They have anxieties about how they're going to save money, how they're going to make money, how they're going to be able to afford the American dream. This is how we win for the next 20 years. Create an economy that's growing, but it's serving those people as well, and not just the baby boomers at the top.
And Donald Trump did that in his first term. Even with his hands cuffed, he was able to create an environment where the economy grew and America benefited. Now, unleashing. Now he didn't have the weight of Russian collusion, all that nonsense that was fake, a farce, the whole time a hoax. This time he's able to implement his policies with his people.
Aggressively.
And look at what's happening.
Yeah, winning all around the board.
And it's so important. Los brought this up last hour, I believe. If you fail at this, those young people are going to look to other places to find it. And there's people like Mamdani that are avowed communists that will be there to tell you, I can do it better.
Yeah.
I can
I'll fix your wagon for you.
Free.
Just give me your vote.
I won't charge you nothing.
I'll take care of you.
But that's it. Take care of you. And that speaks to both ends, really.
This has gone on in every single one of these countries that has gone communist, and some of them have been able to get out of it, but it's very difficult to get out of it once you get into it.
El Salvador.
They are typically promised the world to people that are very frustrated with economic conditions, and it's seductive. It's the leg out the door where you're like, ooh, I wonder what's over there. And then you find out it ain't what you thought.
If it sounds too good to be true, it is.
If it sounds too good to be true, It's communism.
That's right. Well, that needs to be an extra T-shirt right there.
Somebody's going to end up making hundreds of thousands of dollars off my shirt. But yes, if it sounds too good to be true, it's communism.
God's genius.
All you need to know. But it's a lot of this is that growth. And then what happens with those young people? Because right now, Gen X is leading this thing. You look around the board, it's Gen X that's leading so much of this. And Donald Trump intentionally, when you look at who he hired, it's a bunch of Gen X people. And who are the major influencers when it comes to the media marketplace right now? It's Gen Xers. So it's like, it's our time. All I'm pointing out is that as Gen X, we need to be different than what the baby boomers were. And that the baby boomers were really all about themselves, all about their own, everything they did was all about them. I'm not telling you it's like communist in nature of like, we need to all be in this together.
No, right.
What I'm telling you is that if we take care of our young people, then they have the jobs to fund Social Security that takes care of our older people.
And the reason I know that's true is that the baby boomer generation, it was labeled the me generation.
Yeah.
That was their slogan.
That was their slogan. It's about me.
That's exactly right.
And so I'm just telling you, I want to take care of you too. I'm saying we've got to take care of those other people that are coming along so that money keeps going into the coffers. If we don't do that, the pyramid scheme falls apart and Social Security ends up blowing up.
And they're already talking about, it's funny you bring that up. I saw that on MSNBC earlier. A little side note. Their fear is Donald Trump's going to privatize Social Security. Can you imagine?
We have a small start of that already.
Can you imagine how? Because that discussion was under George W. Bush. I remember, and the media pounded him, and that's back when the mainstream media had unbridled influence. Now they don't have that. But if we would have just gone to a portion, like W was talking about, a portion of Social Security being privatized, all of a sudden the difference would be, instead of the pyramid scheme, we would at least have people in a situation where they were earning money off of what they invested in that.
The discussion was the Trump account, and that would be $1,000 into your account
when a child's born. Right? Yeah.
And if you look at, if you were to give $1,000, let's just say taxpayer money, $1,000 to every child that's born, you create an account. Now you're saying, oh my God, what is that going to cost us in spending? I will tell you, it's a hell of a lot less than actually Social Security, because if that money is not touched for them until they're 50-something, that's their retirement, and it's monstrous.
And if you look at, because it works no
and if they want to pay into it, they can.
Absolutely.
But if they don't want to, it's still monstrous.
And it still continues to grow.
Yep.
Because 401k, let's say your return is 5-6%. And that's on, probably on the upper end, but still, if you had that from the time you were born
until you're 65,
dude, give me the drawback there. But the Democrats this morning on Morning Joe, they're beating their chest over it.
He's gonna get rid of Social Security.
But again, fear tactics, and who are they talking to?
You'd have so much more money, and they're talking again to the baby boomer.
And then Donald Trump with his potential, he's not even really announced it. He's just kind of skirted around it a little bit, discussed it the slightest a bit. And that speaks to younger folks who will be having babies, who will be starting families. I'm telling you, if you want to talk to them, you have to make it make sense. And for me, that is, I'm no economist. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, never the dumbest guy in the room, but I'm never the smartest guy in the room either. That makes sense. And it's easy to understand. It's easy to digest.
I'm going to take you to Huntsville, Alabama at some point.
Talk to some smart people.
Dude, that's when we are the dumbest people in the room.
Freaking rocket scientists.
When it's a bunch of people that work for NASA, and I'm sitting there trying to explain the NFL salary cap, and then after that point, I'm like, pretty much out of this.
Seriously, I don't know what you're
Now, the nice part is they always want to talk politics.
Yeah, sure.
Because that's just not their forte, and so I just sit there, I'm like, here's me on my throne, and we can discuss all this.
All of a sudden.
Then they start talking about like missile trajectory, and I'm like, okay, I'll be over here. I'm going to get another drink.
Exactly. I'll be right over here when y'all need me again.
And then Tug will come up to me. Man, I might be the dumbest guy in this room, and I'll be like, you and me both, brother. You and me both.
But I've experienced it most of my life, so it won't be an uncommon feeling for me.
I'm just not exactly comfortable with it.
That's right. When we come back on Extra 106.3, we're going to bring in a couple of our interns to discuss their feeling on the future. They're feeling on what they're going to be able to accomplish. When will they be able to buy a house? What are some of the things that they have fears about? What are some things that they have really good feelings about? A couple interns in a real-time discussion on Extra 106.3 Tug and Los till 10.
Start your day with Tug and Los on the Morning Extra from 6 to 10. Then it's Glenn Beck, Clay and Buck at noon, and the Kimmer Show on your ride home from 3 to 6. And hang out every night for Jesse Kelly at 6 and Jimmy Fela at 9. And stream it all live in crystal clear HD on the Extra 106.3 app.
Hey, it's Front Office Lowe's here to tell you about a new company that is changing the way people buy their next pre-owned car or truck. At The Honest Car Guy, they offer a completely transparent way to purchase a vehicle. You pay what he pays, plus a small honest fee. You can choose any make or model. He will search the country for the best deal out there. He'll handle the paperwork, your trade-in, shipping, and even give you the bill of sale. Friends, I've done the research, and this is a buying process that you can trust. Call 844-SHOW-ME-1 or visit online at honestcarguy.com.
Hey, this is John Flating. I'm the president and owner of ATL Turf Co. We have become a highly sought-after turf installation company in the Atlanta and North Georgia luxury residential market. The big reason for that is our installers are ATL Turf Co. employees. We do not outsource labor. They are trained to be experts in the turf installation process, drainage, grading. Just go to atlturfco.com to schedule an appointment.
Hi, I'm Chris Lalomia, owner of the Trusted Toolbox. Are home repairs piling up? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Relax. We've got you covered. From drywall dings and leaky faucets to deck repairs and trim replacement, we're your one-stop shop for everything for your home needs. No more juggling multiple contractors. Just call us at the Trusted Toolbox and we'll handle it. Your home deserves the best, and we don't want you breaking your back trying. Call the Trusted Toolbox today at 770-623-3097 or visit us at thetrustedtoolbox.com. The Trusted Toolbox, your one-stop shop for home repairs and more.
My name is Patrick, and I'm the Military Outreach Manager at the Warrior Alliance. I served in the U.S. Army as an airborne ranger and deployed to several combat zones in support of the global war on terror. Veterans bring excellence through our work ethic, skills, and civic duty. However, transitioning to civilian life can be difficult, as we all share a loss of purpose when leaving the military. Returning veterans have earned and deserve our support so they can thrive on their journey home. The Warrior Alliance understands the challenge and is helping warriors navigate to success after service. Join us in changing thousands of lives for the better. Donate today at thewarrioralliance.org.
The Bret Baier Minute.
President Trump is back at the White House after a successful trip negotiating a trade agreement with the European Union, narrowly avoiding a potential trade war and opening up both the American and European economies to further commerce. Fox News senior White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich.
The automobile factor is very, very big. The energy purchase factor is very big. And then getting the EU to agree to 15%. I did ask the White House, why is the EU getting a 15% rate? They've been trying to get the 10% that the UK got. And the president also said at the end of his bilateral meeting, one of them that was this week, that the tariff for the world that he might impose on everybody would be in the 15 to 20% range. So why is the EU not getting something better? And they basically said this was about the EU giving to us. They've been, in their words, really sticking it to us for a very long time. And they had to do better, and they did do better, which is why the president was able to squeeze so much out of the deal.
I'm Bret Baier. We'll see you next time.
The Dean's List with Janice Dean.
A 10-year-old from Saskatchewan, Canada makes the Dean's List, who's been mowing lawns around his community to help rebuild homes. Hunter Larson says he wanted to spend his summer helping his dad rebuild his life after a fire took his house and all of his belongings. Living in a van with their dog Shadow, Hunter knew he had to do something to help his family, so he grabbed a lawnmower and went door by door to help raise money. What began as a $10 a lawn job this summer turned into something bigger than he had ever imagined. Neighbors found out what Hunter was doing and began giving him a little more than just $10. People began contributing even if Hunter didn't cut their grass. And despite the incredibly hot temperatures, Hunter kept going. He says everyone is proud of what he's trying to accomplish, but he won't stop there. Hunter says he's going to keep going until school is back in the fall and everything he can do to help his father rebuild. Hunter, you are a wonderful young man, and you made the Dean's List. Janice Dean, Fox News.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your Georgia headlines for Thursday, July 31st. As Marietta City School students head back to class tomorrow, there will be some new changes upon entry. Weapons detectors will be placed at entrances to the school. All students and visitors will be required to go through the detectors. The new systems were put into place after the Marietta City School Board approved the $500,000 purchase in May. A Marietta man could face life in prison after being convicted of fraud in a multi-million-dollar scheme involving COVID relief funds. Authorities say he obtained a $9.6 million loan and a $3 million tax return by claiming he had a gold mine in Africa that employed hundreds of Americans. He used the money to buy $1 million home and luxury vehicles. The maximum penalty is 170 years. He's due to be sentenced in November. And no surprise here, Atlanta is ranked among the worst cities in America for traffic, with congestion lasting 5 hours a day. That's 35 minutes longer than last year. The Consumer Affairs study found the average commute time for Atlanta drivers is 31 minutes. Today's weather, mostly cloudy with temperatures in the upper 80s. We'll have isolated showers around the metro area throughout the day. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne for Extra 106.3.
Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra. 8 o'clock hours brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier expert. 770-GET-HEAT, centralheat.com. We have a couple of our summer interns in the studio with us.
It's a special treat.
It is. It's something that this was not part of the original plan of the show, but the discussion has led us to it, Los.
And we only had the young people in the building for a little while longer. And so we just started having this discussion about young people and 18 to 27 and what's going on in this world. And your son is, going to be a college grad. And we went, why don't we go talk to the young people we actually have in the building to get an idea as to what they think's going on in this world with this stuff.
And so we introduced Meadow, who's 19, and Lucas, who's 24. Meadow at FSU, Lucas a UGA grad.
And let me ask y'all this. How often have they put y'all on the air down the hall?
I haven't been live once.
This is the first time?
Yes, my first time.
Well, knocking it out of the park already.
I've been on a couple times, but it's one of those things I don't frequent often because I'll talk to Domino and I'll say the wrong thing, and it's just...
Oh, and he goes into attack mode.
It spirals.
I will tell y'all a joke real quickly about Chris Domino. So my first really big radio job was with the Chris Domino Show. It was an old radio station. I was brought in from Dallas, the first full-time gig. I'm 24 years old. Domino's like 30-something, and he's just mean the whole time. And so I decided I'm going to hire a bunch of interns that don't know anything about sports and have them work for Domino. And so that was the joke. So every single day he'd show up to work and complain about everybody around him, and that was the way the show worked. It was awesome. So the fact that he's finding a way to complain at you or get at you, that's actually like peak Domino. That's when he's at his best.
I feel it.
When they brought you in, what did you talk about?
Well, I had grabbed like a page from the printer, and if you know him, he prints like 30 million documents. And so he's like, when you bring in a one page, you think I just want like a lettuce when you bring me my burger? So he kind of
got after you
at me. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, that's perfect.
And then Meadow, you've not been on. So what are the things that do keep you engaged? What are you interested in, I guess?
So they have me cutting up a lot of audio, scouting a bunch of stuff. I know the Braves aren't necessarily doing amazing right now, but
you're here. This is a long summer for you.
It has been a long summer. Yeah. I will say All-Star's been so much fun.
Cool.
That's been great being able to be a part of all that, especially being in Atlanta. It's just a fun year. But
so I want to ask y'all this, because we've had this discussion about how young people see their futures moving forward. And again, I'm not looking to get into your politics or whatever, because largely at times, this show isn't even about that. It's just about talking about different issues. And I want to start with you, Lucas, because you're a recent college grad. You're a Georgia man. Obviously you have an interest in being in this industry. Whether it's yourself or other people what has been the job market for young people? Because one of the things that the numbers we get into, young men have a higher unemployment rate than everyone else in the marketplace. It's hard for young men to find positions.
Yeah, I've struggled, pretty good for, someone that I would say does like have a college degree and like I did good in school. Like I have, some extracurricular stuff, and I put it all on my resume. I've created like 5 different resumes and I've sent them out. And it's just tough sledding out there. It's just a lot of just rejection.
Is it disheartening? Is it frustrating?
I'd say it's frustrating because I feel like any job, if you just have an opportunity to like get your foot in the door, then you're like you can work with something, but it's hard to even get that foot in the door to begin with.
So tell me, Lucas, what was your major and what is it that you want to do? Like what industry are you looking in?
Well, I'm a journalism major. I minored in criminal justice. I did the sports media certificate program there at Georgia. And so, I mean, sports media is really the industry I'm trying to get into.
But criminal justice, like, that's pretty well-rounded as far as the direction you were looking to go here. As far you didn't put your eggs all in just one basket, clearly.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely, I kind of would preach, like, you know, trying to, like, broaden your horizons, be as, like, you know, moldable as you can be.
Absolutely.
And it's even then, it's still like I've looked down different rabbit holes of, like, I'm not just, you know, sports media. I've tried just media, and even there, it's kind of still a tough path to just get into, you know, just to start on the ground level.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Bring in Meadow, 19, FSU, going into your sophomore year.
Yes, sir.
What is your path of study? What do you want to do?
So I'm looking into double majoring right now. My first major is going to be marketing. My second one's undecided. I was looking into going into the sports management world, like you were saying, though. That's kind of like a very niche major. And I'm really not sure about what the job market's going to look like when I graduate in 2028. So I'm looking into maybe, like, my double major could possibly be more of like a communications, PR, mass media, just so I have more options and not just putting all my eggs in sports.
So that's the wild part about this. And then, again, we're joined by Meadow and Lucas, working over in our building, a couple of young people in here, because we've been talking about how young voters voted a certain way and whether or not you can hold on to them. And I bring this up with you, Meadow, because you talk about, hey, I'm in marketing, and that's marketable. Mm-hmm. If you decide another major to go along with it, what I would say is make it as business-oriented as possible.
Okay.
Only because of this. One of the things we're seeing is that the communications majors are having such a difficult time right now.
Really?
And with the rise of AI, I'll just say this. So my wife ran a magazine for 20-something years. She's a Georgia grad, used to run the Red and Black and all the stuff you're supposed to do at Georgia. She was the one who was doing it. Now when she started working on some of her updated stuff, an updated resume, some things like that, she used AI. Now, this is a woman who's written for a living for 20-some years, and she was like, this is how you do it. AI is going to eat up so much of those communication things. So it's really about what is that specialty field. So, Lucas, when you talk about like criminal justice to go along with some other deals, I don't think you have to worry about AI eating away at what you're looking to do.
So then the next step is, let's say you continue to struggle a little bit. Is a trade in your future? Do you feel like a trade school is a possibility? Because we were talking with Dr. Rich McCormick, U.S. Representative from Georgia 7, where both of us live, Los and I, and Meadow too. Where do you live in town?
I live in Gainesville, Georgia.
In Gainesville. So I think you may
it's a possibility he might be a representative as well.
His son just graduated from college, or was getting ready to graduate, and he said, no, he did. He said he graduated because he got a 4-year degree.
Yeah.
And now his own son, as a U.S. representative, is going to a trade school.
To learn to be an electrician.
To learn to be an electrician.
After getting a degree?
Because it's 6 figures right off the top. It's crazy. We have a need in this country for 300,000 electricians. Now, here's the problem with this. I have 2 degrees. You're going to have a degree. You already have a degree, Lucas. And yet, the growth in this industry is in an area where traditionally our parents would go, well, why would you go do that?
Yeah.
What do you mean you want to be a plumber?
Working with your hands. And for a U.S. representative to say, I can see the arc, I can see where our economy's heading, it's telegraphed for me. So that doing a trade job, a trade school, welder, plumber, electrician, none of those have either crossed either of your minds.
I would say it's crossed my mind now that I've graduated, because I've seen a little bit of what my future looks like with a degree, and it's, I mean, like you said, you get right into it, you're like 6 figures in some of those jobs, and it's just one of those like there's a need for it.
Do you feel like you were promised this is how the American dream works? This is like, as you said, I did well. I was in activities. I took care of what I was supposed to.
Made good grades.
I made good grades. Yeah. And then here's what the result has been, because a portion of that happened a little bit to me when I was coming out of school. It's accelerated. Like, it's so much different. It used to be when my parents were coming up in the world, it was, you got out of high school and somebody just threw money at you and you went and bought a house and did your stuff from there. It's like, and then that kind of changed when I graduated. Now it's really changed now that you've graduated.
Yeah, in a way, it's kind of like what you, like when you kind of said disheartening. I feel like that's the word to use for that aspect of it, just because, I can sell myself if I had some crumbs, if I had like a little bit of something I can like work towards, but just I'd say the vast amount of nothingness,
the prospects. Yeah.
It's like you don't know where to go.
Because of that, we'll start with you, Meadow. Have you thought about when one day you might buy a house? Like what age does that look like?
Yeah, what does that happen with people your age when they talk about that?
Going into your sophomore year.
So, like, even right now with rent, like, my rent goes up every single year, so...
If you don't mind, like, can you give us an idea? Like, what size of a place are
just
you
in
in?
general, don't have to get
Are you off campus?
I'm, like, across the street from campus, 4-bed, 4-bath. My rent is about $1,200 a month.
And do you have 3 other roommates?
3 roommates, yeah.
You pay it, parents pay it?
My parents pay it.
Okay.
I will just let you know, I had and this was off campus in Dallas, Fort Worth. We had a 3-bedroom, and the wild part about it, so one guy was getting ready to join the military. One guy was actually in the police academy. They were both graduates. They both had their 4-year degrees, both going like officer training school, everything else. I still had a year left. We paid $999 in total.
Yes,
it was $333 total.
In total.
Yeah.
And if I showed you this apartment, you'd be like, "Oh my God!" It's just exploded.
Yeah. The costs are crazy. What about you, Lucas? You ever thought about buying a house?
In a weird way, my goals are very centered around me having a house one day, and I feel like some homeowners will be like going crazy. It's like having a house is crazy. It's hard. It's all that stuff.
No, it's the American dream.
Yeah, that's my kind of where I'm at. Where it's like I think a house is my ultimate goal.
Of course.
Like having my own place, my own I always say. If I can have a house and then a smoker, I will be as content as you can be.
My God.
I love that. That is my life goal here in the future.
I tell you what, you catch on around here, I'll see what I can. I've got some contacts. We can find you. I'm telling you, I have now as the vegan in the building. I will tell you that I did lose the Traeger sponsorship at one point, but I got it back when they were like, wait a minute, he still keeps cooking meat. Like, yes, I do it all the time. But yes, we'll see what we can do to get you hooked up with the Traeger once you got that space for it.
So then the next question, college debt. How much of a concern, Lucas, you graduated, so are you paying college debt? Meadow, are you concerned about college debt after graduation? We'll start with you, Lucas.
I was very fortunate. My dad put away money and was as a pilot, so he helped me out a big time. So I was lucky to escape debt free, and I had the hope and all that stuff.
That's great news, Meadow.
So
especially being out of state.
Yes, I'm very fortunate to be like my parents helped me out a lot, especially my dad. Very fortunate. But with that, like I also do get scholarships, and I'm working on getting in-state tuition, like applying for residency so I can avoid going into debt. I have 3 brothers, and we're all around that age of college. And with tuition prices like rising more and more, I feel like education's also becoming more like unattainable for a lot of people.
Sure it is.
Especially, I don't know, just like with rising prices. So I'm not worried about debt, but I have a lot of friends who are already...
Do they talk about how it's accumulating, or is it just kind of out of sight, out of mind? Do they consider what their major is when it comes to this?
So I've actually written multiple papers on like student debt forgiveness and like loans and stuff like that, about how like more people are taking out loans that they can't pay back. And I have friends who are starting to stress out about that and moving home and online school, because that's more attainable than having a lease, and just moving back with your parents and getting a full-time job doing online school is easier these days than attending like a 4-year college.
Meadow, it's wild you bring that up. One of the trends that we've now seen, just how things have changed. It was foreign 20, 30 years ago to go to school and then go back home.
Yeah.
Now it's the standard.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you finish school, you move back home until you get that job, you get on your feet. I think the numbers are somewhere in like the 70 percentile range of people that head back home until they get that next position.
Avoiding politics. Do you feel like the situation you find yourselves in at your age, graduate, rising sophomore, graduate in a few years, do you feel like the way things are trending, you talked about you're not sure you'll be able to afford a house, don't know when you will be. You're in a good situation, you don't have to pay, you didn't have to worry about college debt. But do you look at the way things are trending, the way things are, the environment you find yourself in, influencing the way you vote or will vote?
I feel like you have to, in a sense, because otherwise, you're kind of just leaving it up to like a blind faith.
Sure.
And you can have that blind faith, but at some point you have to it's like looking back at film for sports. It's like you have to evaluate what isn't working, and you have to, try and choose the best path to that will work, hopefully.
Meta.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be silly to not think about my economic future when I'm voting for who's going to be in charge of that. So when I'm looking, like, I mean, next time I'll be voting is 2028. I'll be fresh out of college, like looking to, start buying a house, start my career. So it'd be silly to not have all that in mind.
The reason why we've brought this up quite a bit is because we've now seen, more so out of the city of New York, a mayoral candidate who said, I'll take care of everything for you. And the allure of that sometimes is getting young people. The question I think a lot of this becomes is, just because young people voted for one side one time doesn't mean they're going to keep doing it. And it's like, and until we start paying attention more so economically to what young people are going through and not just what the older group is going through, y'all historically have shown you'll flip and vote either way, just depending on what matters, what works best for you at the time.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, so because he brings up Mamdani, have y'all heard his name before? Do you know who that is?
I've seen it on Twitter, but I have not
Yeah,
I've not.
Okay, you've never even heard his name.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Is it presidential?
No, he's going to be running for mayor of New York City.
He's won the primary, and as a Democrat, more than likely he's going to be the mayor of New York. But he has policies such as
so free bus fares, free child care. He says we're going to eliminate the police department. We're going to get rid of that.
In New York?
In New York City, yeah.
Which immediately makes you go like, what?
What just happened in New York?
Exactly. So when you hear a politician talk about free, do you believe them?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Free is a very interesting word to use.
Somebody else is paying for it.
Yeah, because nothing in the world's free.
No.
Well, and the way he's driven it home is that we'll tax our local businesses. Here's what we're going to do:
tax the rich.
Yes, but there's an allure that young people in New York are finding it interesting, whereas the older people are saying, "How do I move out of here?" And so that's kind of the crazy part. It said he wants the workers to be taken care of, yet the workers will pay for this stuff too.
Mm.
So it's like you don't recognize until it's too late. He's taking your money, then he's giving it back to you. You just happen to get less of it.
It's just like repackaging it in a different sense. It's just kind of like a marketing ploy.
How would you describe the political party that talks about everything being free?
I think it's kind of just like selling in bad faith, in a way you're just like, you're saying it's free, but like you just said, it is eventually someone's going to have to pay.
It's almost like he's this close to saying communism. That's funny. Lucas, you just described it perfectly. It's like in bad faith.
Yeah, because it can't be. Meadow, what about you? When you hear a politician go, everything's going to be free, I'm taking care of everything for you. What does that say to you?
I just don't think that, nothing can be free in the world. Everything has to be funded in some way. So when I had to do so much research on student loan forgiveness, saying your education's going to be free. Let me just forgive all these loans. Who's funding all these students going to school? Who's funding everything free that you just talked about the child care, this.
Who do you think is?
It's the taxpayers.
Of course.
At some point.
You.
Exactly.
We need to get, if you're cool with it, we need to get a hold of your paper.
Okay.
So we'd love to be able to kind of review that on air and get a chance to talk about some of this stuff. Because, again, so much of this, the market conditions, it's working for the baby boomers and those people that are more likely your grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
It's working for my parents. It's not working for that Gen Z group that's right in y'all's age group. And that's the part where I'm like, if you're going to have the baby boomers taken care of, you got to have Gen Z rolling because the money comes out of y'all's pocket to fund their Social Security.
Yeah.
So then, final question for me, and we'll wrap up. Do your friends, especially, we'll talk about you, Meadow, we'll start with you anyway, your friends that are concerned about college debt, do they buy into forgive student loans? Do they believe in it? Do they support it? Where do they stand on that, do you think?
Well, when you think about it as a student and you're like, when you think about it blindly and you hear you get to go to school for free, I think everybody's like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. Let's jump on this.
Sounds great.
It's this sounds amazing. But when you think about from an economic standpoint, what is necessarily fair for people to be paying for your
school, yeah.
So I just
someone else paying for yours because that's what it is.
As a young person, you get to go to college for free. It sounds amazing, but I just don't know if people put a second thought into figuring out the logistics of all that.
Well, the problem is, since even people were in college 10 years ago, the college prices keep doubling.
Yeah.
And so the education didn't change, but yet, so you start doing the math on it, and you're like, wait a minute, you just graduated in 2015. Why am I paying double in 2025?
Yeah.
And then at some point, when those costs continue to go up and you finally do find your landing spot and you start working and you want to buy a home and have a family, then there's still going to be new students in school that have debt. And those people that are saying, hey, we're paying off college debt. Eventually that becomes you, right? Then you're going to look back and be like, well, wait a minute. My parents paid for mine. You're fortunate in that way. They've saved well. Do you think you'll be able to or want to pay for somebody else's college debt?
I mean, it all comes back to I'd like to pay for my kids' college debt.
There you go.
That is a responsibility. I'd like to pay for my kids' college debt.
Absolutely.
I'm right there with y'all. With me, with 2 daughters, there is a part of me that goes, hey, I'd like for one of y'all to learn how to be a plumber. But that's not exactly realistic. So now I find myself caught in this era of going, all right, when you start telling me what you're interested in learning, Dad's going to be running it through the filter of, well, that's not going to work. Well, that's not going to work. And now I'm like crushing hopes and dreams. But I want them to have that better future on the other end of it.
Oh, my gosh. But reality, because it's real, you have to have those tough conversations. And I know you will. But we've taught people for so long that anytime somebody tells you the hard truth, they're evil, they're bad, this is terrible. You've got to tell people the truth, and I think that's the truth. I say it on the show all the time, every day. Truth matters,
100%.
even if it's a tough truth that you have to learn. Meadow Lucas, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on with us. This is
and when you
Morning
speak
Xtra.
of us, speak well.
Yes,
You're like,
great
actually put
first
us on
radio
air.
experience.
Oh, there we go. We need to get you a copy of it. That way you'll have it forever. When we continue, the leftist deep state, bad actors never had a need to worry. Well, until now. Next on Extra.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sports headlines for Thursday, July 31st. The Atlanta Braves dropped the rubber match against the Kansas City Royals yesterday afternoon in 10 innings, 1-0. The final, the Braves now move on to Cincinnati to open up a 3-game series with the Reds. First pitch tonight is set for 7:10 as Carlos Carrasco makes his Braves debut on the mound against Andrew Abbott. You can hear that game on our sister station's brand new app, 680 The Fan. But the Major League Baseball trade deadline does come down this evening, a 6 p.m. deadline. The Braves are expected to try and move on from a number of veteran players. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
Lord, there's always a reason if you're a homeowner to be looking at what needs to be done next. I mean, as a homeowner, if you've owned a home for a while, you know it's never ending. There's always something to work on. Like for me, we did trees in the yard last week. Now I've got a bill, got to pay. Got to get those trees taken care of. You know, they're touching the roof, they're touching the siding. Had to get them cut back because I don't want that moisture. What if you have had that same situation, but you didn't cut them back in time and now there's damage to the siding? There's damage to the roof. Southern Exteriors can help you out with that. They can patch the roof. They can fix the roof if it doesn't need to be replaced. Or they can replace the whole thing. Depends on what you need. And they do, of course, free evaluations. Come out and look at it and tell you what it is that needs to be done. Same way with that siding. They can fix a section of it where, you know, those trees overlapped, kept that moisture in. And if you have that hardy plank siding, you know how it puffs up a little bit. You got those, you just need to replace that, fix that part, it's fine. Or is it time to replace the siding of your home? So many different options.
Welcome to Willie's Wings, home of the secret sauce.
I'll take a dozen wings. Oh, by the way, I love that.
There's so many different options that you have at Southern Exteriors. So call them today, 877-9-SOUTHERN, southernexteriors.co. Or you can reach out. When you reach out, you can ask them, hey, 10% off, can I get that deal? Or you can do that, hey, I'd rather have 12 months, 0% financing. Totally up to you. southernexteriors.co and southernexteriors.co.
Welcome to Willie's Wings, home of the secret sauce.
I'll take a dozen wings. Oh, by the way, I love that sauce. What's in it?
Can't tell you.
Why not?
It's a secret.
While many financial advisors claim to have the secret sauce, they don't. In fact, if their sauce is so good, why are they keeping it a secret? Evan Ward of Atlas Retirement doesn't keep anything a secret. He knows there's much more to retirement planning than stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Evan will develop a strategy designed specifically for you. It's your own secret sauce for retirement. Call Evan Ward at Atlas Retirement to schedule your personal portfolio x-ray today. Call 678-252-5224. That's 678-252-5224. Or online at atlasretirement.net.
Fine, you want to know what's in the sauce?
Absolutely.
Tablespoon of paprika.
Really?
Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor.
Fox 2.
I'm Michelle Polino on Netflix. The fourth installment in the true crime docu-series, Conversations with a Killer, the Son of Sam tapes, examines the 1970s New York murder spree of notorious Son of Sam killer David Berkowitz and includes newly discovered prison interview footage recorded in 1980. Also on the streamer, the debut sitcom Leanne from co-creator and star Leanne Morgan. Inspired by her stand-up comedy, she plays a grandmother who restarts her life after the end of her 33-year marriage. Kristen Johnson and Ryan Stiles co-star. On Peacock, Twisted Metal, the action comedy series, inspired by the Demolition Derby-themed video game franchise, returns for season 2. Anthony Mackie stars as John Doe, a former milkman with amnesia on the loose in the chaotic wasteland that was once the United States. That's Fox Tube on Fox News.
The Morning Xtra on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3 FM.
Tug and Los until 10 on Extra 106.3. I hope you got as much out of our discussion with our young interns as we did, because it was so revealing.
We really had no idea what direction they were going to go. We just asked them, here's what we're looking to do. Be as honest as you want to be. And that was it. And then they ripped it from there. Just really impressive young people.
Spoke to Lucas, 24, graduate of UGA, and Meadow, 19, that's getting ready to go into her sophomore year at Florida State University. David is on the phone in Marietta at 404-741-1230. You had a comment about the intern discussion.
Yeah, so it goes back to my wife and I's philosophy, because we've got 2 under 2, and we've really kind of thought about what is the landscape of college going to look like when they get older. And the decision, I'm lucky because she's a CPA, so I don't say this braggadociously, but I don't worry about money. It's just because, she takes care of it. But we want the best for them. And we've already thought about it. It's like, what's better, saving up for college, or instead of, if they want to go to college, making them pay for it on their own. That way they've got skin in the game. And then instead of taking that money that we would give them for college, when it's time for them to buy a house or go to a house, either pay for a house or have a significant down payment or finance through us. Because that way a house is an investment. The value of that is only theoretically going to go up, and it will continue to grow in value. As if they're taking out college loans, that value is only going to go down and down and down. I mean, it's not like the cost of it can continue to go up. So it's kind of a different thought. And it's just, there again, the landscape is going to be so different with AI. Who knows what higher ed is going to look like in 20 years when our kids are ready?
No doubt about
David,
it.
that's an excellent point. And I will tell you that my wife and I have had similar discussions. Like, we divested of a property in Florida, in part because, first off, we're like daughters, and it's going to be cars, it's going to be college, it's going to be weddings down the road. Like, these are things that we have to start pondering. And I'm with you. If there was ever an opportunity where most of schooling is taken care of and dad's only coming out of pocket for a little bit of money, I'm one of those people that have the path to college, 529s. I would love to be able to hold on to so much of that money tax-free and then basically say, all right, here's your nest egg. This is what's going down on your first home.
Yeah.
I would love that.
It's something similar with us. When Jacob was at Charleston, he had a partial scholarship to play baseball. We were still cutting pretty big checks for him to go. And then Augusta comes around and says, hey, man, we're going to take care of it. That takes, you're talking about taking a burden
the stress
off your shoulders. Holy cow. It is unbelievable what not cutting checks will do for you and your psyche.
And what you start thinking about, how can we help down the road?
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, it's a good call, David.
And then rolling what we had saved that we don't need to spend in a 529, because we still have a pretty good little nugget in there because we've been saving for a long time. Like, what's the process to roll that over into something else for him because we saved it for him?
Yeah, here goes into your IRA, and now suddenly maybe this is part of your down payment, however you're going to use this.
Marty is in Atlanta. What's on your mind, Marty, this morning?
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, just listen to the interns. I think my faith in the youth of the future and this country has been cemented. They've got pretty good heads on their shoulders, even though they seem a little discouraged, but I think they know what they want to do and moving forward because it hits close to home. I've got one's going into college, one's about to graduate from college. So, yeah, it's a good thing to hear young people like them that has their head on straight.
Yeah, I thought so too, man.
Yeah,
I was really impressed by that.
Marty. And I'll tell you, I think it's easy at times, and we get this not so much from Gen X. You know, there's always going to be somebody who's just kind of closed-minded. We do give it from an older generation. Always the older generation criticizes the younger generation. That's going to happen for the rest of time. That's how it is. These kids aren't lazy. Like, yeah, are there lazy kids? Yes, absolutely. But by and large, the ones especially were coming through here that were working all summer, that we had, on Simple Jack, everybody else we had that rolled through here, these are not lazy kids.
Yeah, they're working their tails off, man.
It's just about the opportunities aren't there right now in the way that they were for previous generations.
What's the most fascinating thing you took away from the discussion with her? Because I have two things.
I think that when both of them inherently, and Meadow probably said it a little bit better when she pointed out, if you're telling me it's free, I know it can't be.
That's the one.
That's the part that jumped out to me, that for somebody who's 19 and understood that, and I think hearing from Lucas say, it's not discouraging, it's disheartening.
Yeah.
That this is supposed to take off for me.
Punched.
I feel like I'm being punched as a young guy trying to do everything I'm supposed to do, and my foot's in the door, but it hasn't taken off yet because we were all told, well, you graduate, you throw the cap and gown, and you start work the next day, and everything's taken care of, and now you go buy cars and get a cool apartment and do all, and it's not that way now.
And it's interesting that when I threw out the Mom Donnie name, they had no idea, but they understood what his policies meant.
And they were like, that's not how that works.
Yes, he was so close to saying communism, and you pointed that out. He even said they're repackaging it. And I was like, is he going to get there?
I'm like, Lucas knows it's communism. It really is communism. It's like, you're being sold a bill of goods.
The other thing that stood out to me is the fact that neither one of them have even considered the trades. They just never even crossed their minds.
Never even crossed their... I'm telling you, this is a problem that we're going to have in society, where whether you're middle class, might be a little bit different. You're upper class, you're upper middle class, it's really hard to send your kid, like as we're hearing from Rich McCormick, send his kid to a 4-year university, and then it took him a while to go, wait, I need to go study to be an electrician. Like, he could have done that right off the jump.
And not wasted the time on the 4-year.
But he's like, this is the better way to go.
The great GDP numbers. That wasn't anything to celebrate, says a legacy Democrat. Can't wait to tell you who it is next on Extra.
Time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
I read a newspaper article yesterday that reminded me of one of the turning points in my radio career. No, I wasn't always a great guy. I wasn't always ready to do what management wanted me to do. We're going back to Texas A&M. WTAW. Started out as a rock and roll disc jockey named Randy Neal, then turned to country, and then did something that I thought was funny as all hell, but ended up, well, judge for yourself. The newspaper article was about the great tarantula migration that's taking place in Texas right now. Tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of horny male tarantulas are marching across the landscape looking for females. So being a Texas boy and not afraid of a little tarantula bite, I went out and got a big cardboard box and scooped up maybe 80 or 100 of these tarantulas. I headed over to the radio station. It was shut down at night. We only broadcast during the day. So I emptied all of those tarantulas into a darkened studio, went back to my house trailer. Yep, a house trailer, went to sleep. The next morning, the poor sap who had to sign on the radio station walked into a darkened studio at about 5:30 and sat down in a chair. He had to do that in order to put a foot under the console and turn on all the power. He noticed a crunch. When he turned on the power, the entire studio was covered with tarantulas. They were on the turntables. They were in the tape cart machines. They were everywhere. He ran screaming out of the radio station. They didn't get on the air until mid-morning. And that afternoon, I was fired, deservedly so, for a stupid stunt like that. My next radio job, Ring Radio in Atlanta, and I crassly took advantage of some man's suicide. That's another story. Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. The 9 a.m. hour is presented by Southern Exteriors. Quality and precision you can rely on.
They are challenging President Trump's authority. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Some importing businesses in 12 Democrat-led states go to an appeals court this morning trying to block the tariffs the president's imposing on imports. A lot more going into effect tomorrow. Ahead of that, there's a new trade deal with South Korea.
South Korean imports will be taxed at 15% instead of the 25% that was due to go into effect August 1st. President Trump posts on Truth Social, South Korea will spend $350 billion on investments owned and controlled by the United States and buy $100 billion worth of liquefied natural gas or other energy products.
That's Fox's Chris Foster. The president also posted it's going to be very hard to do a trade deal with Canada over its threat to recognize a Palestinian state if Israel doesn't stop the war against Hamas, as an international outcry grows over food shortages and starvation in Gaza. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is in Israel now, restarting talks that stalled.
In recent days, President Trump alluded that a different approach would be needed to free the remaining 20 living hostages, along with the bodies of 30 others.
As Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv, the manhunt's over for a suspected killer in Arkansas.
James McGann was nabbed in the middle of getting a haircut, charged with 2 counts of capital murder in the killings of Clinton and Kristen Brink, who were attacked in front of their daughters as the family hiked Devil's Den State Park in Arkansas Saturday.
That's Fox's Lillian Wu. The girls aged 7 and 9 were not injured physically, but they did lose their parents, and they're now being cared for by family. We just got an inflation update showing a bigger than expected increase in what's called the Personal Consumption Expenditures Index last month, rising 2.6% year over year, up from 2.3 in May. That's an inflation gauge the Federal Reserve watches closely, and it comes the day after Fed Chair Jerome Powell cited concerns tariffs could lead to higher prices.
We expect to see more of that.
So the Fed chose not to cut interest rates. Well, President Trump didn't like that. He wants a big rate cut and posted on Truth Social this morning, Powell is too late, too stupid, too political, and a total loser, costing our country trillions of dollars. America's listening to Fox News.
An official message from Medicare.
I turned 65 this year. I knew it was time to figure out Medicare, and I had questions, like when to enroll and how to enroll. So I went straight to the official source, Medicare.gov, to get the facts about Medicare. I found answers to all my questions, and I'm ready to get started. And so can you. Just go to Medicare.gov to get the real facts about Medicare.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Heroes like Austin Reese have paid a high price for our freedom. Austin served 3 deployments to Iraq. He spent 13 years with the Navy Explosive Ordnance Disposal Unit and became a military freefall instructor. But in what was thought to be a routine jump, something went terribly wrong. Austin was left paralyzed. Tunnel to Towers built Austin a specially adapted smart home. Help heroes. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Align your business with other like-minded conservatives by advertising on Extra 106.3. Email sales at xtra1063.com.
Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra. What a terrific show it's been. If you missed the discussion we had with our interns here at Dickey Broadcasting, Meadow and Lucas, you got to go back and listen to it. They were so revealing in the way that some young people think, or maybe even most young people think. The things that they've picked up on, the things that they reject, and the things that they had no idea about.
And if you want to go back a little bit further in the app, and this is why you have the app, 725, that was Dr. Rich McCormick, congressman who represents myself and Tug, and as we found out, Meadow as well, and probably also Lucas. And that gentleman told us that his son just finished up a 4-year college degree, and then after seeing the job market decided, I'm going into the trades. So he's now heading back to trade school to be an electrician. That is and that's when we were talking with our interns. That is something that's so foreign to them, the idea of, I just went and got a 4-year degree, like the world's supposed to open up for me. Instead, I might have to do this. And that's just the way the world is shifting and moving under their feet. No wonder they have, I call it anxiety. Like, yes, anxiety is real. Some people have anxiety. But you can just have anxiety over a situation.
Sure.
How much wild anxiety must these people feel about their future when they get out there and they go, everything I was told is not what it is.
Welcome
or at
to
least
life.
what it was for the previous generation.
But welcome to life. The only thing that stays the same is that everything changes.
But 20 years ago, Tug, and that's, let's face it, that's not that long ago in terms of, it's a generation.
Sure. Yeah,
that's all it is. It's a generation. In 20 years, I graduated school. I already had a job in radio. And when I decided, okay, I'm going to go and work within my industry while also staying in radio, I think it was a week to just be like, hang out, have a good time. I start next Monday.
That's right. You got to be ready, man.
But that was more regular than what it is now.
It is, because that's almost non-existent.
Yes.
But you do have to, much like you're saying, though, you have to be ready for when that moment strikes or when that opportunity comes along. Man, I know this scenario. This is a little bit different, but it's kind of the same thing. I remember Jacob had this opportunity to go play or be in front of a couple coaches. This is prior to college. Yet he had a trip planned. And he was like, Dad, I don't want to miss the trip, my buds. And I was like, what's more important to you, man?
What's more important to you? Make a choice here.
Guess what he did? He went and played ball.
I've said the same.
Because he cared about it. That's what he cared about.
I've said this to my older daughter, because there are times where she'll do well, I'm missing out on this. And I was like, well, which one's more important to you?
It's up to you.
Right. And
there's not a wrong answer necessarily.
No, it's just whatever you decide, let me know.
What's more important?
I don't have to write these checks.
That's exactly right.
You know?
I can quit. But if your focus is in a different place, that's fine.
Then let's make an adjustment.
Let's make the adjustment.
But it always happens where, and she's not doing it for me or for Mom. It's like, because she loves it.
Yeah, she got to do it for her.
Otherwise, like, we wouldn't have gotten to this point with her.
Right. That's right.
You know, it's just kind of what it is. But
you and I are in that same boat because our kids have both said we really want to be competitive in athletics, which I think opens up the doors to so many things. I think the opportunity to experience success and failure in athletics trains you and builds you into the moment that you get into the workforce and you become a business owner or a leader in a business, and you have wins and you have losses, and you have to figure out how to navigate both of them and do it successfully.
It's teamwork, and you'll hear about it later this hour, because that's another thing that Congressman Dr. Rich McCormick brought up. I mean, this is a guy who, he's a Marine, he's a pilot, he's a doctor, and that all screams teamwork, right?
Well, and the trifecta of, man, nobody can not like me.
Right. Well, you'll find out later, but I mean, that's the idea. It's like if you're involved in teamwork, I think you are much more interesting as a prospect when it comes to the job market. But everything's changing so fast that there's no such thing as uniformity. I saw a gentleman, he had posted onto, it wasn't TikTok because he was 50-something years old. He wasn't on TikTok.
Right.
But he talked about how he was resigned to the fact that as a guy in his 50s who was looking to work a few more years, he's like, I'm not going to be hired full-time by anybody anymore. He's like, I'll catch on as like a consultant, or I'll do some little bit of work here and there. He's like, but no one's going to hire me anymore at this point. And it was so weird to hear a guy with like 20-some years, 30-some years of professionalism in the marketplace going, no, there's no chance.
But the crazy thing is now he's more marketable than anybody.
He's supposed to be.
But I think he actually will be. Because you think about kids coming out of college. We talked about the AI revolution and things that AI is going to eliminate. Those entry-level jobs that kids coming out of college need. When companies are looking for people to fill positions, they need people with experience. All of a sudden, I think the upper end of the demo becomes much more marketable.
See, I go back to when we heard from David last hour, and he talked about how, hey, my wife's a CPA, she handles this stuff. those are the kind of jobs where you'll be, in my opinion, jumping from one foot to the next. In the future, she's going to be integrating AI as part of her job to speed up her processes. And the people that learn how to do that the quickest, let's say, for instance, you happen to be working with a client and you know this is going to take me 3 hours. AI might help you get it to 1. And the more times you can do that and be that person as a CPA who handles, let's say, 10 clients in a day rather than 3 or 4, there's your value. So it's like you got to learn how to integrate all this stuff.
You're exactly right. But then that does limit the younger end of the demo away from that.
Does.
As quick as you're talking about, you need to do that very quickly to be able to show yourself capable. As the more quickly that happens, the less need there is for those kids that just graduated college. Back to my point about being in the upper end of the demo and having valuable skills already that those companies need.
I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit. If there was ever somebody who ever, I don't know, created some comedic songs to play on a radio station, just know that in the past, that used to take hours.
Yeah.
I mean, no problem, 5 or 6 hours. No doubt about it. Now it's like 30 minutes.
Well, there used to be people that's what they did for morning shows around the country. You'd say, hey, here's the subject matter. I'm going to write the lyrics, record this, get the music in, everything, parody. There were people who did this for shows all over the country.
You'd pay a subscription or the one-time fee. And people would send stuff back to you in like a day or two. And like,
you're
okay,
like,
good.
This is amazing.
We got it on a Friday.
It's amazing.
Gone.
Dude, a company that I do a country show for in Charleston, South Carolina, that company has decided they're going to get rid of all the big voice guy. You know, the guy that like you hear on this station, the big voice guy that says Extra 106.3 and, you know, Kimmer Show. And that same voice that you hear through there, you hear on our sister station, The Fan too. That company down there has decided they're getting rid of all that and they're going to go to AI.
It's easier and it's cheaper,
and quicker, and everything. Dude, AI is, if you've got to learn to work with it.
Got to integrate
You've got to integrate it. And Dr. McCormick talked about that as well. Can't wait for you to hear from him coming up in a minute. You know, something you brought up too, when we talk about kids graduating college and the fact that sports gives you a bit of an edge in the fact that you've already...
You competed for 4 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you experience winning, you experience losing. You're pretty even keeled when it comes to that. I've always said sports in the military are very similar. They're very teamwork oriented. It works good in business, and I think that's why people that hire love veterans and love athletes.
Yeah. How do you get along with people from different backgrounds?
And then it got me to thinking, because it's so unique having those skills. 1% of our country volunteers for the military. 1%. 3% of kids come out of school playing college sports. They are so unique.
So small, yeah.
That's why they're so marketable. You don't just find them everywhere.
No, it's difficult.
And it just occurred to me as we're having this discussion, I was like, that's why those things are so valuable.
That's why you have firms that are so aggressive in going after these sorts of people.
And that's why it's so important to me that my son, I didn't care that you have the dream that they have or you have the hope for their dream when they say, I want to go play college ball. But do you really? How many kids, and you've not gotten there yet because your kids are younger, but they're in there playing competitively. There will be kids that you thought for sure will be like, man, they're going to go to college and play ball. And then they get to 10th, 11th, 12th grade, and they're like, you know what? I've just had enough.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. That number is so small. I think that is why military service and college sports are so stinking important. Or not even college sports, just sports in general are so important because they teach you lessons that you don't get in college. Those are additional lessons that you don't even have to pay for.
Now that you bring it up, so the club team that I played on, like when I was like 16 years old, we were really good. We were very deep and very good. There was 2 of us.
That went on?
2.
That stuck with it?
Yeah. There were 2 of us that actually went the college route, did the thing, and that was it. And everybody else either lost interest, burned out, or just couldn't quite get their stuff together.
And think about military service and if you go on to play college sports, the sacrifice, because we talked about that. What's important to you? In the military, you're sacrificing. I mean, it could be life and death sacrifice. But you're sacrificing. You're not making $1 million, but you're serving your nation. You are sacrificing. Not unlike college sports. You sacrifice a lot. Los can tell you because he's done it, and I can tell you because I've seen it with my son. He's up at 6 a.m., working out, then goes to class by 8 to noon. Get 11 to 12 or a 12 to 1 break for lunch.
Yep.
Then you're right back out to the field at 1, and you practice for a couple hours. You go back to the gym, and then you do study hall. It is in an entire day of sacrifice.
What I will say that was always easy, that was different from my friends that I grew up with, because it was 6 a.m. weights, 8 o'clock class. For those people that didn't start class until 11 or 12, the first time that they had the job, and they were like, my boss wants us there at like 8:30 for a meeting. I'm like, yeah, so?
What's that got to do with anything?
What's a big deal?
Yeah. Go get it done, kid.
I was like, but me, I'm used to, 5 o'clock, head on over, get to the, get some breakfast, get into the gym, do the weight workout, shower, be ready for class. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock class. Those are my 3 classes, done by 11, at the practice field by like 2 o'clock. And that was always the deal. It was so crazy to think that by the time I was done with class, that was when friends of mine that I grew up with were getting up to go to class. And so by the time they joined the working world, they were so thrown off. Like I had one friend who I think he stayed at a job for like a month, quit, and then decided he wanted to be a ski lift operator in Colorado. Did that for like 6 months before he finally came back home and his parents just lost their minds at him.
Goodness gracious.
But the world freaked him out. It's like, hey, we need you here at 8 o'clock. What do you mean? I don't start class till 11. Till noon.
Call. And then to piggyback on that, think about the people that go and get degrees, because there's something here with this military and college sports thing. The fact that it's so unique. I mean, how many kids graduate with psychology degrees? I bet there's thousands.
I'd sooner see that than sociology.
Sure, but pick the degree that was just me pulling one out of the sky.
Yeah.
Pick the degree that everybody gets, and there's 1,000 of them. The percentages are gigantic, right? It's 50, 60% of kids have that same degree. Whatever.
You have on average anywhere between 2 and 2.2 million college graduates every year.
How many kids coming out of college were college athletes, and how many people were serving in the military? That number is minuscule.
I think you have homework now.
It is unique.
You're going to have to actually dig into this to build a segment for tomorrow.
Yeah. It's going to be a good one.
You're going to be like, whoa, look at the numbers, and then look what they're getting degrees in. I have no problem. And this applies more to my older daughter. My younger daughter is just sweet and friendly and everything else. My older daughter is a little bit more of a killer. Like, she's sweet and friendly as well. But if she ever had an interest in a service academy, I would be going, sounds awesome.
Especially now.
Because she would love to be that person who goes and plays 4 years of Division I and then goes off and serves the country. And then by the time she's done, all right, it's into whatever great job you want, because that's what happens when you're at a service academy.
Yeah, that would be a great path for her, and especially now.
It's just different.
That's the biggest thing. The service academy, because look at what Donald Trump is doing to the Ivies. He's making them negotiate. He's holding hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars back from these universities that have put DEI in front of meritocracy. They've put the ability for schools to select on skin color, not meritocracy. They were able to discriminate against Asian or white kids. They were able to do that until now. The service academies did not escape that. The woke mind virus did not escape from those service academies, and they're having to root that out. You hear Pete Hegseth talking about it all the time, how we're going to be focused on the right things, focused on winning wars, focused on being ultimate fighting machines, which is what we have to be. So there were times in the last 4 years with one of our coworkers and a person in our neighborhood when they were like, my kid's going to the academy, and I'm like, oh, man, that's great. And it's a horrible feeling. Horrible feeling.
To have to feign interest or excitement?
Yes, because they knew I served.
Awesome. Yeah.
And in the last 4 years, I would have told my kid, absolutely, I don't want you going to serve. Now that we're rooting out all the BS and getting back to meritocracy, getting back to what matters. If you're in an academy, the importance of being a fighting machine. So when you say your daughter you could see her going to academy. Man, I got nothing but support for that. I think it's great.
She's a butt kicker.
Yeah,
and
I love that.
The story that I can finish off the segment with that you'll get a laugh out of. So they had taken her entire, at the time, the 8th grade class over to Lanier Technical College in Cumming because they had this like career fair, kind of like, opportunity for the first time as 8th graders. You can see what this looks like. And apparently it was like the ROTC guy ended up having them do a push-up contest. Well, she won.
Nice.
She beat all the boys. And immediately he's like, here, take this pamphlet.
Yeah, show this to your parents.
I was like, okay.
Let's have this conversation.
Let's have this conversation down the road. I'm like, no. I was like, this isn't for, but I was like, down the road, if you decide you have an interest in this, let's go call the congressman.
Dude, I know 3 or 4 kids in academies right now. Kelvin King, who's a friend of the show, came in. He's an Air Force Academy grad. There's a lot to love about West Point or Annapolis or even the Air Force Academy.
Good family friends of ours. Their son is going to be playing college baseball at Air Force
awesome.
after his senior year next year.
Dr. Rich McCormick, want you to hear from him. He represents Georgia's 7th District. But the things he's going to talk about will interest anybody in the entire state. And if you're not even in Georgia, around the country. Great discussion next at Extra 106.3.
Listen to the Morning Extra, The Kimmer Show, Neil Bortz, and all your favorite Extra 106.3 personalities whenever you want with the all-new Extra app. It's anytime show replays, all your favorite podcasts, and the latest political news from across Georgia. Download the Extra 106.3 app now for Apple or Android.
Hey, it's Front Office Lowe's here to tell you about a new company that is changing the way people buy their next pre-owned car or truck. At The Honest Car Guy, they offer a completely transparent way to purchase a vehicle. You pay what he pays, plus a small honest fee. You can choose any make or model. He will search the country for the best deal out there. He'll handle the paperwork, your trade-in, shipping, and even give you the bill of sale. Friends, I've done the research, and this is a buying process that you can trust. Call 844-SHOW-ME-1 or visit online at honestcarguy.com.
When you meet with Coach Pete's local trusted advisor, Craig Chandler, about your retirement plan, it's not only comprehensive, it's customized because everyone is different. Coach Pete, give us a glimpse of that meeting with Craig Chandler.
Yeah, we do 22 steps behind the scenes for your plans, folks, and we give it all on one page. We explain it all on one page in coding, easy to understand, so you see exactly what's going to happen in retirement. It's a one-page retirement income plan, and if you haven't had that yet, we're going to do that at no cost or obligation. If you call right now, we'll put one together for you, but it'll put you in control of retirement instead of retirement controlling you, and that's the best thing you could ever feel is that freedom, the financial freedom that you and your family deserve.
Get that look at what your retirement plan can be. Great second opinion, too. No cost, no obligation. Call Craig Chandler, 800-419-6164. 800-419-6164. 800-419-6164.
You could save big when you bundle your auto, home, motorcycle, RV, or boat. Visit Progressive.com.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your Georgia headlines for Thursday, July 31st. As Marietta City School students head back to class tomorrow, there will be some new changes upon entry. Weapons detectors will be placed at entrances to the school. All students and visitors will be required to go through the detectors. The new systems were put into place after the Marietta City School Board approved the $500,000 purchase in May. A Marietta man could face life in prison after being convicted of fraud in a multi-million-dollar scheme involving COVID relief funds. Authorities say he obtained a $9.6 million loan and a $3 million tax return by claiming he had a gold mine in Africa that employed hundreds of Americans. He used the money to buy $1 million home and luxury vehicles. The maximum penalty is 170 years. He's due to be sentenced in November. And no surprise here, Atlanta is ranked among the worst cities in America for traffic, with congestion lasting 5 hours a day. That's 35 minutes longer than last year. The Consumer Affairs study found the average commute time for Atlanta drivers is 31 minutes. Today's weather, mostly cloudy with temperatures in the upper 80s. We'll have isolated showers around the metro area throughout the day. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne for Extra 106.3.
We welcome Dr. Rich McCormick, representative of Georgia's 7th District.
Our representative, sir.
He is our representative, exactly right. I didn't want to brag about it, because then it sounds like we just got him on because he represents the both of us. And that's not the case. We just love talking to Dr. Rich and know there's so many things that are happening in America right now, but I got to tell you, Dr. McCormick, the thing that stands out to me is how much Donald Trump is winning for America. And obviously, you and the Congress and the Senate, you all have a big part in that. But we are winning at a level that I don't know that I've ever seen. Do you feel that way? Do you see that as the interaction with people? Do they feel that too that you talk to?
I do, and I'm. It's funny because I'm a pessimist by nature. I mean, that way you're never disappointed. But when I look at the things that Donald Trump has done and how he's outside the box, how he's done things that we've been worried about for decades. I remember growing up as a kid and hearing about trade deficits and trying to wrap my arms around that in a simple way. And what he's done individually, I mean, even collectively to countries around the world to bring them to the table and actually give us better. I mean, it's Trump 2.0. I mean, the first presidency went well. This one's just killing it. And what he's going to do to affect the deficit, what he's going to do to affect the economy, what he's going to do to set us up for a lot of success is just tremendous. Although we do have some things that are looming over us that I don't know how we're going to get out of, and that's the debt and deficit, which we can talk about how tariffs are going to affect that and how it's not going to affect it. But overall, I mean, he's getting an A-plus rating from just about everybody, and the Democrats don't even know what to criticize right now. They're just making stuff up.
Congressman Dr. Rich McCormick is our guest on the Morning Extra. Let's go right there, sir, because this tariff policy, when it was coming into effect, and I remember on April 1st, you know, I'm somebody with a couple of business degrees. I said, I'm going to wait and see. Let's see how this plays out. Some of the analysts were talking about this is going to sink the economy, yet we're seeing this record number of revenue that keeps coming in. You know, what is the future of this policy, and how has it affected kind of the outlook of what the Trump plans are when it comes to the economy?
Well, for those people who don't understand how tariffs work, it basically is a tax. It's just a question of who's paying for it. Technically, so far, businesses kind of eaten the inflationary cost. In other words, they're taking it out of their profits, and so we haven't really had to pay for it. Now that may change over time, and it may become inflationary. But so far, all it's done is produce a ton of surplus. They're projecting about $300 billion in extra revenue into our budget, which is something we need because right now we have about a $3 trillion deficit per year, which is horrible. And it's going to go up next year, unfortunately, even with a big, beautiful bill, by about $416 billion more of deficit spending. Now, a lot of part of that is the SALT, which for people who don't know, is basically when you can deduct your state taxes from your federal taxes up to a certain point, and we just increased that up to $40,000. That comes at a hefty price tag of over $300 billion over the next several years. And but it's something we have to look at because that's going to affect us big time down the road. But so far, the tariffs have been nothing but a great benefit to the way we look at our budget.
Dr. Rich McCormick on the Morning Extra, Tug and Los until 10. Dr. McCormick, you talked about the deficit, so let's talk about that because yesterday Jerome Powell did not, and the Fed did not drop the interest rate, and Donald Trump spoke to that specifically, saying $365 billion if they would have just dropped it 1 point over a year. If they were playing, because this feels like very political to me, and I'm no expert on the Fed, I'm no expert on economics, but it feels very political to me. This was the only way that they could limit Donald Trump, only way that they could limit his success. And then it really speaks to what you're talking about, paying off that debt for the United States, but then for people that have credit cards and want to buy houses too.
That's the full effect of deficit and debt. When you talk about the interest payment we're paying, which is over $1 trillion, and just paying debt on that almost $37 trillion of debt that we owe, and the Federal Reserve, for the people who don't understand how that works, is neither federal nor is it reserve, and it's not going to bail us out in the end. We, the States people, are going to bail out the United States. When you drop the interest rate, you pay less interest. It also helps you buy your houses and all those things. The thing that Powell's going to lean on, and I don't think he's going to be around much longer, by the way, but what he's trying to lean on is that he doesn't want to superheat the economy. I mean, we do have a lot of money. It's going to be coming back into the United States. President Trump's doing a great job of that, by the way. That's going to produce a ton of jobs. But the other side of that, too, is when you've been downgraded twice in
2 years, which we have been. We've had two agencies that grade each currency, and because we're so far in debt right now, that actually has affected our currency and our ability to borrow from other people. Now, if you drop it too low and people don't get the interest, then they're not going to borrow. They're not going to give us the money. They're not going to lend us the money to borrow, such as Japan. Japan has about $1 trillion they've invested in the United States in treasury bonds, and that kind of buoys up our debt problem. But right now we're kind of upside down where you have higher interest of the short term than the long term, and that can cause some problems too. So it's not as simple as people think. And there are definite advantages to having a lower interest rate, but there are also some things we need to be careful of. So these are 10-pound brain kind of people going at war, and it's going to be. The good news is, like I said, there are hundreds of billions, actually trillions of dollars going to be coming back into the United States economy, invested by other countries that are going to help us grow our economy, grow our jobs, and that's going to help us dig our way out of this deficit spending also.
Congressman Dr. Rich McCormick is our guest on the Morning Extra. Let's talk about your line of work. The BBB gets through, a big victory for Donald Trump. What is next on the horizon for the Republicans in Congress?
Well, I think now that we're done with that, we have a reconciliation package to do. We're going to, at the appropriations bill, we already passed the defense side, which is a huge spending part. It's about 15% of our budget. But we have 12 appropriations bills to pass in order to not do another CR, continuing resolution. If we do a CR, it's essentially the Nancy Pelosi era budget all over again. We haven't done anything substantial to cut that. And so that's the big fear. And mark my words, it's not going to be an easy lift. Even though we have the House, the Senate, and the White House, not passing ACR is actually a really hard thing to do, as it turns out, because the Republicans haven't passed something other than a CR in decades. So to do it the right way is going to be a tough lift, and that's where President Trump is very good at twisting arms, and hopefully we get it done. But one thing we cannot do is default to make sure we don't shut down and freeze out the government, because that could be catastrophic to our economy also.
Dr. Rich McCormick on the Morning Xtra, Tug and Los. I want to ask you about something that could really benefit, because you talked about how Donald Trump's having to twist arms and get things done. Redistricting. We see it out in Texas. There could be some redistricting done there. Greg Abbott's talked about it, and the Republicans could gain 5 seats in the House. Boy, that would be beneficial. Down in Florida, same thing. Do you see that as something that we could do in Georgia? Is there something you could do to help push that along? Maybe put Georgia in a better position to have more representation?
So that is a state issue, not a federal issue. We have to be very careful not to cross lines, and I hate to weigh in on this too much. And it's a double-edged sword, by the way. Remember when Newt Gingrich was one of the only Republican congressman in Georgia, they tried to redistrict him out. They ended up with 4 Republicans instead of 1. So we have to be careful we don't get too aggressive, because, yes, it may benefit you in the short term, but in the long term, it may lose you a lot of seats, too. Texas is probably the easiest place to do, because it's a huge population, the biggest state of population that has a Republican-leaning population. But remember, it wasn't that long ago that Ted Cruz had some issues in that election, and we got to be careful. That's all I'm saying. I have several friends. As a matter of fact, Texans are very close to me. Ronnie Jackson, Beth Hendine, Pat Fallon, some really good friends of mine that are down there. They're not too worried about most districts are going to be fine, but there's a couple of them. By gaining 5 seats, you're going to make them very vulnerable in the near future, and so that's just something that we have to be aware of. In Georgia, we kind of maximize our potential for the future. I think we stabilized it. We can maybe eke out another one, but once again, careful what you wish for, because you get it now, and later on you're going to be paying for that. We've seen that in Georgia, both for and against us in the past. So we just have to be really diligent in letting the states kind of run that. I know President Trump is going to put his thumb on the scales. There are some states like Florida, their Republican base has expanded massively, by double digits. Texas is not quite as sure-footed as that, but you have to be picky and choosy which states we do that with. And realize, too, California has some very good laws to balance that out when they reapportion, but they may change those laws in response to what's happening in Texas and Florida, so they may gain some Democrat seats there.
New York and California both looking at doing something very similar, and that would benefit Democrats, Los.
Dr. Rich McCormick is our guest right here on the Morning Extra. I want to ask about, we're looking to get, obviously, the expenditures from this government under control and to re-privatize this government where there's more money in there for the private sector. And I continuously hear this from younger people about what this will mean for their future. Being that the young people broke so hard for Donald Trump, young men especially, how much of a focus is there, or is there people in Congress realizing that this economy has to start serving younger people better than it has been?
That's exactly right. And it's funny to watch the Democrats try to find their footing with young people. They're not connecting at all, and they're picking all the wrong fights. I think the American public has kind of woken up to this idea that the economy is the most important thing that has ever driven the American population. When Bill Clinton was running, it was the economy, stupid. As a matter of fact, I'll go back all the way to Calvin Coolidge 100 years ago. One of my favorite lines of all presidents is, "The business of America is business." We need to make sure we have cheap, affordable energy. We have lots of jobs. That drives the revenue stream that supports everything else. That makes everybody happy. It keeps them from doing criminal activity. That's something that we've connected with. Youth want to have. This generation of youth is actually libertarian for the first time in American history. In other words, they don't want you in their business and they don't want you in their personal life. That's the future of politics, and I think we have to play to that. And I think it's actually the way our Constitution was designed anyways.
Dr. Rich McCormick, our guest on Extra 106.3 in the Morning Extra. What about helping those kids coming out of college with jobs? Because that's another issue. Because I have a kid that's a rising junior. You talk about the economic part of it. Not having a job is a real problem, especially with young men right now. We talked about it on the show earlier today, and I even look at it for my own family, for my own son. What is it that you see that we have to do? Because we're battling AI, we have all kinds of real obstacles.
Yeah, the marketplace is changing dramatically,
really quickly.
AI is a concern. It will be more of an enhancement than a replacement, though. I think you're going to see businesses actually become more efficient, more profitable, and create more jobs all simultaneously. It's going to for example, me as a doctor, you're not going to replace me as a doctor, but it's going to make me make a much better note. It's going to help me with treatments. It's going to make me bill more efficiently, maybe eliminate some billers, some delay in reimbursements from insurance companies. But the companies, the early studies that we've seen so far is companies who lay off people thinking the AI are going to replace them end up hiring back most of those people because it's just not going to replace people. It's going to make you better. It's going to make you more efficient. I think we're going to have to adopt our market. We need to look at our education system all the way around. We still need people. We're going to be plumbers and electricians. You're never going to replace them with AI. By the way, that's a great. If you're listening, guys, out there, and you're looking for the next future, you're going to make as much as a doctor. You're never going to be replaced. There are things out there we need to adapt our education system to. We have an antiquated system where people coming out of college with degrees they'll never use, with tons of debt. That's not a way to look at preparing for a future. If we have the results that we're going to have from Great Britain and Europe and all the other countries investing in the United States, hundreds of billions of dollars, literally trillions of dollars, we should have an economy that's booming. There should be plenty of jobs. And by the way, that forces the minimum wage up without being artificial. And because everybody's going to be competing for employees, not for jobs. And that's going to force the price point for everybody up, and we're going to have a really high living standard still. And I think that's the magic of what Trump's doing right now.
And to reinforce that, as Dr. Rich McCormick is our guest right here on the Morning Extra, when Microsoft says they need 3,000 additional engineers, we have an industry that says we need 500,000 electricians over the next several years. I mean, it's completely different in terms of growth and availability of jobs.
And that's what we're not preparing for. I love technical schools. In fact, I told my middle son the other day, he's going to be doing an apprenticeship for being an electrician. And what's funny is he wasted 4 years of college before he did that. Now he got great grades, fine, but you didn't know what you're going to do with that degree. I told him right off the bat, I'm like, I'm not a prophet, but you can kind of see how the economy is going. You can see where the real money can be made. You get a couple of electricians together, you can have yourself a business, and you can make way more than the average professional, more than a doctor. And I think if you look at preparing the youth for the next generation for what the needs are out there, it's predictable, and that's the nice thing about this. But you're right, Microsoft is still hiring. We got a bunch of people hiring, and by the way, that brings up STEM education. We don't produce enough smart kids here in the United States. our education system is not built well. We have 1 million kids from overseas, 1 million kids that are taking a substantial part of our college education, and they're not coming here for degrees in history. Nothing wrong with that, but like I said, communications or anything else that's not useful. They're coming over here to actually take our engineering jobs where they're going to have 100% placement. They're the ones that are doing computer programming, AI development, that sort of thing, and then bringing it back to their countries. This is one of the beasts that we have with the Ivy League schools. They're bringing over like a quarter of their students are coming from foreign countries, getting great educations, and then going back there and working against us. That's a problem.
Indeed it is. But I love what you said, predictable, because you can see where the boom towns, the boom markets, the boom job markets will be. Final thought here with Dr. Rich McCormick representing Georgia's 7th District. You decided not to run for Senate. Who do you plan to back? Have you made that decision? What will make you, if you've not made the decision, how will you decide? Where does that go?
You know, it's funny. In politics, friends come and go, but enemies accumulate. I got to be really careful that we don't. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true.
I will say this to you, Dr. Rich. I've said if you have 5 haters, make sure you have 5 more by next week, because that means you're doing well. But it's not always that way in politics.
You know, it's funny. I was a popular guy. You know, everybody likes Marines, everybody likes pilots, everybody likes docs. And so I went into politics, and half America instantly hated me.
Immediately, because of one letter of the alphabet.
Oh my gosh, it's incredible. People who are my friends.
Oh wow!
I mean, I'm talking close friends. People who voted for me at Morehouse, student body president. All of a sudden, like, oh, you're that guy, and it's like, wait a minute, I'm the same guy.
Yeah, right.
And this is where I think it's going to be interesting. There, obviously Kemp is weighing in. The president, I think, will keep his powder dry for a little bit. He's going to want to make sure that we don't have a bloodbath. So maybe he'll weigh in a little bit early, but you got some good candidates out there. I think I'm going to do whatever I can to help whoever comes through the primary win this.
There you go.
Obviously, we did really well in our district. We outperformed everybody, not to brag or anything like that, but we had the highest voter participation easily and the best performance over expectations. And so we have some things to add, but, the main thing is we flip these 2 Senate seats because Georgia should be a red state. We've lost 3 elections now for the Senate, and that can't happen anymore. We got to be careful of our governor's race, too, by the way.
Yeah.
If the Democrats come up with a good candidate and things aren't going perfectly, midterms are a vulnerable time for us, so we just got to be very careful.
Indeed. Dr. Rich McCormick, thank you as always for speaking to the folks in Atlanta and taking the time with us on the Morning Extra. Thank you, sir.
Always a pleasure. Semper Fi, brothers.
There you go.
Thank you.
Good fellow there, Dr. Rich McCormick on Extra 106.3, Tug and Los until 10 when we come back. How it went from bad to worse at CNN. 9 o'clock hour is brought to you by Southern Exteriors, your home exterior solution since 1999. 8779 Southern, southernexteriors.co.
The Morning Extra on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3 FM.
Good morning, it's Los. Let's talk about True Prep. 2 ways you can enjoy yourself some True Prep. 1000 Kyle Parkway in Marietta, or you can go online, trueprep.com. Now, here's the cool part about it if you decide to go online. They have added a couple of features to their site. One is their used guns and gear page. They update that on a daily basis. Also, their sales and clearance page. Those are a couple big factors where you can see some of the best prices on the equipment that they have in the store. Maybe you're into having food like I am. I have the freeze-dried food just in case of any sort of crazy situation. Maybe you're into getting out in the outdoors. They got a whole lot of great outdoor equipment. Or maybe you're into personal security. Now, here is where True Prep truly shines, because you're talking about a company that's going to help you from start to finish. Maybe you're a first-time gun buyer. Maybe you're purchasing this for somebody else where you're trying to add some extra layer of protection, whether it's in the home or when they're out. One of the matters that True Prep has for you is their workshops. They've got one coming up on August 3rd. They've got another one coming up on August 24th. This is the first time gun buyers workshop. This is where they take you through the entire process. What gun is the right one for you? How do you then store it? How do you protect yourself with it? How do you maintain it? They take you through that entirety of that process with that workshop. Again, August 3rd, then again on August 24th. Did one in July, wildly popular. It's backed by popular demand. Go to trueprep.com. That's TRUprep.com. Prepare today for a worry-free tomorrow with True Prep.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Mercedes-Benz Connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sports headlines for Thursday, July 31st. The Atlanta Braves dropped the rubber match against the Kansas City Royals yesterday afternoon in 10 innings, 1-0. The final, the Braves now move on to Cincinnati to open up a 3-game series with the Reds. First pitch tonight is set for 7:10 as Carlos Carrasco makes his Braves debut on the mound against Andrew Abbott. You can hear that game on our sister station's brand new app, 680 The Fan. But the Major League Baseball trade deadline does come down this evening, a 6 p.m. deadline. The Braves are expected to try and move on from a number of veteran players. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
The summer's got you thinking about hitting the road. And with back to school right around the corner, you need a vehicle built for the road and safe enough for the family. And Subaru of Gwinnett has it for you, like the 2025 Subaru Outback, which will take you as far as you want to explore with standard symmetrical all-wheel drive, plus up to 32 miles per gallon. And if you're up for adventure, it'll get you off the beaten path with up to 9.5 inches of ground clearance, more than the Honda CR-V or Toyota RAV4. Or the 2025 Subaru Forester, the SUV for all you love. It's the right-sized SUV for all the adventures ahead, with a spacious and comfortable interior for everyone you want to bring along. And no matter where adventure takes you, it starts on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth with the amazing staff at Subaru of Gwinnett. They'll help you find the Subaru that you'll love and be there every step of the way for everything you need. Start your shopping online at SubaruofGwinnett.com.
Yes, there's a ceasefire, but ask anyone in Israel if they feel peace. You're going to hear a very different story. Bombed homes, families that have been torn apart, kids too afraid to play outside. The violence may have slowed, but the fear has not disappeared. The threat's not going away. It's just paused. That's why the work of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, the IFCJ, is more vital than ever. While others move on, IFCJ remains steadfast, bringing the life-saving aid and long-term support to God's people. They're feeding Holocaust survivors, helping families of soldiers, comforting children who just still sleep with their shoes on, just in case they have to run to a bomb shelter in the night. Can you imagine having to live this way? The Bible says, comfort, comfort my people. And that's exactly what IFCJ is doing with your help. A ceasefire might pause the rocket fire, but it doesn't heal the heart. Let's be part of the peace that lasts. Learn more about IFCJ and their life-saving work. Go online to ifcj.org. That's ifcj.org.
Hey, it's Flounder, and the Kimmer Show is live every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m.
More's coming out on Clinton, Hillary Rodham, P. Stinky Fart Cabbagegate, and the CIA Director John Radcliffe is now teasing the plans to release more information, more files, linking Hillary to the Russian interference and the coup against Donald Trump and the coup against their own party.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Xtra 106.3 and the Xtra app.
Tug and Los until 10 on Xtra 106.3. When we're done here at 10, Glenn Beck, Clay Travis, and Buck Sexton, and then the local afternoon show with the Kimmer, Pete, and Flounder. Do not miss a moment. And the way to do that, no matter what time of day it is, you're like, well, wait, Clay and Buck are on noon to 3. Doesn't matter. On the Xtra 106.3 app, you listen to it when you want to listen to it. It is quite convenient that way. Download it wherever you get your apps. So CNN, it's interesting for them because they have a star in Scott Jennings. They have a guy that moves the needle in Scott Jennings. But it doesn't matter because it's gone from bad to worse, Los. Things are not improving, even with a rock star.
It really has. I was looking at some of these numbers, and this was off of when we had the shooting in New York on Monday. And what did we have from CNN? CNN comes forward, they're covering it live, and they're doing we have a shooter, the police who know who he is, possibly white. It's like, well, did you get that from the authorities?
Yeah, where'd that come from? Because if you look at the picture,
I'm like no, I would say that's probably not true. I'm looking right now at the same picture. And I thought, well, I mean, like, people actually watch this? Oh, no. No, they don't.
Matter of fact, they don't. They're screaming into a cave.
So I started looking through the numbers. Like, for instance, if you want to just talk about your average numbers, so your prime time lineup at Fox News, you're talking about an average of about 2.9 million viewers. And some of them are higher, like Gutfeld does over 3 million. Jesse Waters does over 3 million. Hannity's like 2.7 million. So these are like really good numbers. You then start moving over to MSNBC. And MSNBC, it's not terrible. It is. It's less than 1 million with the exception of O'Donnell. Like that's the one show they have. But everything else is under 1 million viewers. Jen Psaki is doing 998,000. That's just not enough for a platform that big. That needs to be 2 to 3 million. It just does. Then
I was going to say, but what's the next step? Go to CNN.
Then you go to CNN, and when they start their headliners. So think about how this is funny. Was it Erin Burnett out front or whatever she goes by?
Yeah.
So that does 710,000 as they're just getting into prime time.
So you said that's 7 o'clock?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now as we get into the heart of prime time, your 8 and 9 o'clock hours, 584,000, 588,000. They're doing half the audience that MSNBC is doing, and they're doing not even a quarter percentage of the audience that Fox News is doing. So when you get upset, just as I was, of like how they're covering a story and how they're speculating and what they're doing, just know that when we play that, more than likely, the reason why you're hearing it, that's going to be the first time you're going to hear it, because not a lot of people are watching in comparison.
And the first time anybody's hearing it.
Yeah.
For the most part. I mean, we have 320 million people in this country. They don't get 500,000.
And we're not even talking about key demos, because then that's when it goes even crazier. You know, the key demo is what you're looking at is a 25-54 adult. That's the key demo. And when you get into that range, the numbers really start to fall for CNN, to where you're now looking at closer, if I can give you the numbers, in like the 180,000 range.
Dude, that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
For a brand that is worldwide known, for a brand that has really, they were the founding father, if you will, of cable news. They were the first 24-hour network. They were the leader. They were I mean, they made MSNBC possible. They made Fox News possible.
All right, key demo, 25-54. And the reason why, just for the audience to know, that is what's considered by industry standards your prime buying years. That once you are beyond 54, you still have money, but now you're starting to get into that range of maybe you're retired, maybe you've decided you're not working anymore. Maybe they're trying to sell stuff to you, but they're not trying to sell as much stuff. 25-54 is the sweet spot for selling things to people. So when you look at Fox was sitting there with an average of 2.6 million viewers in the key demo. MSNBC, when it came to the key demo, 81,000.
Good heavens.
You also then had CNN sitting right around 92,000.
Oh my God, dude. 25-54. CNN 92,000, MSNBC 81,000. Dude, no wonder you're seeing like Comcast say we've got to spin this brand off. They're trying to sell MSNBC because it's not valuable and nobody's buying it.
You know what it says about MSNBC more than Fox and more than CNN? It is the network for the over 55 plus year old. That is the boomer generation. That is what they're watching, because no one drops off as far from looking at total versus key demo than MSNBC. So when we wonder, why does your Aunt Peg keep bringing up Epstein? Whatever's on MSNBC.
And that's
not even so much CNN.
Yeah, it's been up there all morning too.
Yeah, not even so much CNN.
Yeah.
Whereas the Fox audience drops off not as significantly. Again, you're looking at 2.3 in the key demo, but like for instance, Sean Hannity is doing 2.7. So you lose 400,000 that are in 55 plus. There's still a majority of the audience that's in 25-54.
You know, the crazy part about this is that these networks that are losing tremendously, like ABC News, CBS News, I would assume NBC News would follow this category too, they see where the people are. Why wouldn't they? I'm not saying they need to be a conservative outlet. I'm just saying, why wouldn't they take, okay, we lean this way, we kind of believe this way, but nobody's here with us. Let's see if we can at least meld the two and have some kind of back and forth that will create good discussion and both sides can be happy or mad or whatever. You know what I mean? Like an old Sean Hannity and Combs.
Yeah, Hannity and Combs, where they would both argue on opposite sides.
What was the CNN show? Was it Crossfire?
Crossfire, where they would have the panel and everything. Yeah.
It's almost like they need to go back to that, but they don't. They continue to weigh it down, and it's just 4 libs and 1 conservative and Scott Jennings, and it continues to fail, and he's a rock star.
Years ago, they used to put a guy in a bow tie on Crossfire, and he would sit there and just argue back and forth with people, and you're like, who's this Tucker Carlson?
Yeah, who is this guy? And now,
that's funny.
Now he's one of the most prominent voices in all of conservative media, and doing it on his own.
I got to drop in his podcast more. I haven't probably listened to one, and the Steve Bannon one was the last one. So like last month sometime, or early part of July was the Steve Bannon one that I decided to check out.
Boy, he's had some interesting ones lately.
Who was the historian that we meant to get in there?
The guy who does the Martyr Maid.
Yeah. So that one's out there, and I know they talk a lot of Epstein. Quite honestly, I just get such a tired head with that.
Like my mama.
Yeah,
I'm so tired.
I'm just like, I'm so tired.
I'm so tired. That's what
it's like. That's when the whores come in.
See now.
I just take all momentum out of my day.
Yeah, I just take the wins out of your
Somebody says Epstein, I'm just like, oh, great, here we go. All right, let's do that again. Hold on.
Talking about why they won't go to where the people are. Yeah. It's almost like when you have a sports team, especially in baseball, when you have guaranteed deals and a player is just not doing well. Now, you can cut those, but these networks have hired zealots instead of journalists.
Sure they
and they can't do what you were just saying they should do. And they're stuck with these contracts.
Well, the money is always in being, for lack of a better term, a talking head. This is part of what has eroded the American newspaper industry. You have people that have covered teams, topics, whatever else for a long time, and they've done it as a journalist. And they start to look around and go, why are the journalists only making this? Whereas if I give opinions, now I'm a columnist, but now I'm doing it on television. Now now it's real money.
Well, because it's entertaining. We had this discussion before the segment. Say something memorable. Have a point of view that's different. That somebody's either going to be like, I completely disagree with that, or man, I can't wait to tell my friend this because I agree with that. That's appealing. If you're just given, like, we don't spend a lot of time, and I think it's a good idea that we don't spend a lot of time going down all the facts of every story. We assume that most people know the facts of the story.
Try and give you the structure, the skeleton structure.
Yeah, we just give you the basis, and then we dig into what we think about it.
And I would like it so that if you're curious about what we covered, you jump into it yourself.
That's
and
right.
You're like, I cannot believe that this is going on. I heard about it from my guys.
That's exactly right, man. I don't want to bog you down with all the details. You can read that online. You don't need me to tell you that. So that's, I think that's how we've maybe been successful. I think that's definitely the way that we look at doing it. And I've gotten emails and phone calls of people saying thank you for not getting bogged down in the minutia, because so many shows do. And we've just got that one right, and we hope you enjoy it, and we appreciate you being here. And today's been another quick day. Gosh, it goes by fast. All because you and being a part of it. 404-741-1230 at Extra 1063, at Front Office Los, at Whiskey Click, at Tug Cowart,
at Meemaw Radio.
That's my next handle, at Meemaw Radio. All right, man. Y'all have a good day. Y'all come back now. You hear?
Live and local news talk continues at 3 p.m. with Kimmer, Pete, and Flounder. It's the Kimmer Show, only on Extra 1063 and the Extra app.